The Champ de Mars, the Field of Mars, is what you've just seen there in Paris. We are here for the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, and more specifically for wheelchair rugby, one of the most spectacular sports in the world, not just in the Paralympic world, but in the world. If you've not watched it before, then you really are going to enjoy yourselves here. It is all action, clash and bash. Tries are going to be scored left, right and centre. And there's going to be some theatre, quite literally some theatre. Now, in France, in theatres, traditionally, and even still today, you have somebody who knocks a stick on the floor 3 times. Called the coup de bâton. Knocking with a stick, and that is to tell you that it's time to take your seats and the entertainment's going to start. And that is exactly what we do. We've been doing it at the Paralympics and at the Olympics. And listen to this now. Ladies and gentlemen, take your seats, whether you are in the Champ de Mars or watching at home. The entertainment is a mere 8 minutes away. Paulina Schmidt on the left from Poland, Josh Kearns on the right. They are going to be the 2 referees out there. You can see there's a table full of officials behind them. They're going to be keeping score. Having a look at the clock, and speaking of keeping score, here are the standings in Pool A. Japan on top at the moment, USA second, Canada and Germany yet to open their accounts. Someone's going to open their accounts today. Christoph Werner hopes it's going to be his team. Germany, out they come. You can see there Britta Kripke came out. She is one of 2 female players. There's Christian Riedel, the player coach. I think he's going to be more coach than a player. There's Britta Kripke, one of 2 female players that Germany have. And the advantages of female players is that you are allowed an extra 0.5 out on the court. What do I mean by 0.5? Well, on the back of everybody's chairs, you will soon see numbers, and those numbers go from 0.5 to 3.5. 0.5 is the lowest classification, 3.5 is the highest. There's the other female player they have, Masha Mosel. She's at 2.5. So you have high pointers, mid pointers and low pointers, and you can have 8 points out there at any one time. It's a bit like fantasy football. You've got your squad and you can have no more than 8 points out there at any one time for your 4 players. However, if you have a female player, then you're allowed an extra 0.5. So here are all of the classifications. Germany, they'll quite often have Britta Kripke out there. She's actually a 1.0, not a 0.5. And that enables them to play an extra 0.5 out there, so they can have 8.5. If they bring Masha Mosel on as well, then they can have an extra 1 point in total. All sounds a little bit complicated, but it will become very clear the more you watch. So Germany lost to Japan in their opening match. Out come Canada. Canada don't have any female players, so the most they can have out there at any one time is 8 points. And they're probably going to go for a high, mid, low lineup. And their highlight player, their standout player, is going to be Zach Medell. He's the one whizzing around at the back there, the last one to come out. Zach Medell, number 33, 3.5 pointer. He's the quickest man out there, one of the quickest players in the entire sport. Say hello to Patrick Côté, who is their coach. He's been their coach for a while. Now we're going to have the national anthem. Please stand for the national anthem of Germany.
Et maintenant, merci de rester debout si vous le pouvez pour l'hymne national du Canada.
Please remain standing for the national anthem of Canada.
Einigkeit und Recht und Freiheit, German national anthem, unity, justice and freedom. And then the French one and the English one. Oh Canada, sung in French by Patrick Coté. You could see him, the coach, singing beforehand. He was singing it in French. Eric Rodriguez will have been singing it in French as well. There he is, Patrick Coté. So we've had English, French and German. Truly an international event. So Germany's starting lineup. This is the typical starting lineup for them. Marco Herbst is the captain, a high pointer. A couple of mid-pointers, Josko Wilke, the youngster, and Stefan Becker. And then Britta Kripke, a one-pointer, so that enables them to play 8.5. Zach Medell is going to start along with Anthony Letourneau and Cody Cordwell, a couple of mid-pointers, and Byron Green, the low-pointer. So that's a balanced lineup, one high, two mids, and a low. Neither of these teams really has the luxury of going high-low. Canada could go high-low. There are players out there they could bring on. We'll probably see Mike Whitehead a little bit later on, a three-pointer. Matt Deblis could play there as well. But they like to play the balanced lineup. One really quick guy in Zach Medell, and then a couple of mid-pointers who are the best of both worlds. They can block well, they've got trunk function. You'll see the high pointers, Zach Medell in particular there, the shaven head in the middle. You'll see him, you can see the real strength that he's got, good trunk function because he's a quad amputee. So he has incredible strength in his body. And then the low pointers are the ones who've quite often had spinal injuries, and they have lower classifications, and you'll see they will move differently. You'll also see the chairs look different as well. We'll come to that later. Countdown, we're about to get underway. The tip-off is won by Germany. Marco Herbst gets the ball first, and he is Germany's high pointer. He weaves his way through. Christoph Werner, the 54-year-old coach, he's going to be happy with that. Werner played for Germany the last time they were in the Paralympics in 2004 and 2008. Delighted to be back now. Ball in the hands of Medell, and he fires it forward to Cody Caldwell. And Canada level things up. Cody Caldwell, 35 years old, plays for the London Annihilators. There's a good name for a team. London as in London, Ontario. So a little way south of Toronto, getting towards the US border. With his teammates Matt Deblis, who we might see a little bit later on. He actually plays the other side of the border. He plays for Detroit. Now the first foul of the day. We saw a reaching foul there. So at the moment, Cody Caldwell is in the sin bin, bottom left of your screen. And that meant that Germany got to play 4-on-3. And Caldwell is allowed out either after 60 seconds or when the opposition scores, and it's usually well within the 60-second mark. Anthony Letourneau, with the very distinctive goggles that he wears, fires that one forward, a good chest pass to Zach Medel. Letourneau plays for the Montreal Machine, 28 years old, from Boisbriand in Quebec. Josko Wilke just going over the line. He is definitely someone to keep an eye on. He is the future of wheelchair rugby in Germany, 23 years old, from Leipzig, in what was the east of the country, now of course reunified. He's a mid-pointer, 2.0, but the push that he's got, the push is what you call the acceleration of a wheelchair rugby player. And he's as quick as a lot of high pointers. And look at that, he's got great flexibility, a good trunk, picks up the ball beautifully there. An accurate pass from Herbst. Herbst and Wilke is the combination you see most often for Germany. Exchanges of passes between Caldwell and Letourneau. Now you have to bounce the ball or pass it every 10 seconds. That's why Letourneau bounced that there. And Medel gets over the line. You can see 20 there that flashed up to 40. That's the shot clock. You've also got it at the top of your screen, counting down, 37, 36. You've got 40 seconds in which to score. Now, the first thing you have to do is get the ball over the halfway line within 12 seconds. So that was done there by Germany. Now, that was a legitimate hit. And if you go to ground with the ball in your possession, it's a turnover, unless you can call a timeout. Now, you can see the pass there from Herbst. Wecker is hit. Did he call timeout? Regardless of whether he did or not, his teammate, Marco Herbst, I saw him give the universal timeout symbol, the T. So, timeout called by Germany, and that's to make sure that they maintain possession. You have 4 timeouts, 30-second ones, that are called player timeouts, or the players tend to call them floor timeouts. You take them when you're out on the floor. Germany have used one of their 4 already. That was to maintain possession. We'll see them used a little bit later on when teams can't get the ball over the halfway line within 12 seconds. Now, what's been given here? Not a penalty try, but we've had a... Cody Caldwell has gone in the bin again, and I think he was either the 4th player in the key. He was the 4th player in the key. You have 4 defenders. There's the key where Marco Herbst is now, the blue painted area. And you can only have 3 defenders in there at any one time. It wasn't a foregone conclusion that Germany were going to score. So it wasn't a penalty try. But it meant that Cody Caldwell went into the bin. Germany leading at 5-4. Letourneau just has enough to get over the line ahead of Wilke. Very nonchalant pass there from Medel. Medel, who's played all around the world. He's played in the UK, he's played in the United States, been down and played for Queensland in the Australian Championship. Germany now need to get the ball over the halfway line within 12 seconds. They do that, and that was reeled in beautifully by Herbst. It's as if they're showing us all of the nuances of the game here. You need to be in possession of the ball before your wheels go over the line, and they just were there from Marco Herbst, as we saw perfectly from the camera work. Cote getting animated already. Vilke around the outside. Make sure he does the bounce. Medell's on his own here. And the reason why Medell was on his own was because his teammates were being blocked by their opposite numbers. So one thing that's good to keep an eye on is not necessarily the likes of Zach Medell or Marco Herbst, the high pointers. Have a look at the other players. There's the two high pointers going together, but look at the others trying to block, either block Medell or block his teammates. Becker with the inbound. He has 10 seconds in which to inbound. The clock doesn't start until it's been touched by a player or a chair. Great passing. That's the advantage of having, rather than the high-low, if you've got two high pointers, it means you have to have two low pointers who won't have the trunk function and the ability to catch the ball, play the chest passes that we saw there beautifully from Germany. So when you have a more balanced lineup, as these two teams have, then you're not reliant all the time on high pointers like Zach Medell. Letourneau with a great inbound. How about that? Long passes. That's a perfect illustration of why it's good to have these mid-pointers, their ability to pass. Vilke to Kripke, to Veke, big hits. They need to get the ball over the halfway line, and it's been lost, and possession. You can see Paulina Schmidt pointing in the direction that Canada are attacking. They have forced the first turnover. The ball went out of play off the arm of Josko Vilke, so Canada will have the inbound. Ball went out of play, so that meant that they could make a few changes. Rio Kanda Kovac is the number one with the shock of blonde hair. You can see him there. Patrice Dagenet is the low pointer who's come on as well. So this is Canada going high-low. They've got Zach Medell still out there. Rio Kanda Kovac is a high-ish mid-pointer, 2.5. Dagenet desperately looking to get back as quickly as he can. We've also got Trevor Hirschfield out there. Almost another turnover there. Vilke pops the ball out, and Dagenet got close to it, but it ended up coming off Dagenet. So Germany with the inbound. They haven't made any changes yet. There's going to be a little give and go between Kripke and Veke. Out to Vilke. You can hear them counting down in German, telling the players how long they've got left to go. You want to keep your eye on the ball and on your opponents rather than looking at the scoreboard. So it's good to have your teammates counting down for you. Halfway through this first quarter, 4 8-minute quarters. Rio Kanda Kovac, a recent addition to the team. He played in the Parapan Games, which were held in Santiago. So you have the Pan Am Games and then the Parapan Games. They were held in Santiago. The Parapan were held in November last year. Only one team qualified directly for these Paralympics from the Parapan Games, and that was USA. They won the final, defeating Canada. And Canada had to go via... Ooh, that was a speculative pass there, and it was reeled in by Marco Herbst. So Canada swarming around the key. Reminder, you can't have 4 in the key, and there were 4 in the key at one stage there. I think the last one to go in was that man there, Trevor Hirschfield. So he's sent to the bin. Paulina Schmidt, the referee, deciding that it wasn't a foregone conclusion that Germany were going to score. So now it's 4 on 3 in can see 1, 2, 3, and then 4 just backing in there. You can see Zach Medel trying to get out before Hirschfeld went in. Tough inbound for Kripke. Manages to hand it off there to Veke. It's not too much of a disadvantage here, and knocked over the line there, Rio Kandakovac. You can see the one with the shock of blonde hair. He had his wheels knocked over the line, and if you go out of play behind the try line, it's a penalty try. Actually, no, not usually a penalty try. He's been sent to the sin bin. So Germany are going to have to inbound again and try to score again. Referee Schmidt deciding that, again, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that they were going to score. Here it is a foregone conclusion. So 2 of them in the bin at the moment, Hirschfeld and Kandakovac. And they wonder why Vilke's taking his time. It's because you can see to the left of your screen, everyone is trying to block Zach Medel. They want to keep him out of play as far as possible. To make sure that once Canada inbound again, Medel is locked up, but it's easier said than done to try to keep tabs on Zach Medel. There we go, as if to illustrate that. Let's get it over the halfway line, though. You can see the double, triple teaming him. That means that there's always going to be numbers available for Canada. Hirschfeld hands it off to Medel. Hirschfeld hasn't quite got the trunk and the torso to be able to throw out the kind of passes you would see from someone like Letourneau. So Medel took the ball off him and got over the line himself. So yes, both of these teams ended up going via the Paralympic qualification tournaments. That was for those who didn't qualify directly from their various continents. As the referees are making sure. Right, so Kandakovac had been stuck in the bin. Hirschfeld was allowed to come out. Kandakovac was still in there, and then Canada went on to score themselves, and it had been more than a minute, so he ends up coming out. The Paralympic qualifying tournament was for the teams that needed a second bite of the cherry. USA made it through directly from the Paralympic Games. Japan directly from Oceania qualifying. And then from Europe, France as the host nation, and then the other 2 teams from the Euros that qualified were Great Britain and Denmark. So there were 3 spots up for grabs, and 8 teams battling it out in Wellington this year in March. And the 3 that got through were Australia, Canada and Germany. Australia and Canada went through to the final, with Australia winning it 49-48 in overtime. Germany defeated Brazil in their 3rd and 4th place playoff, and that meant that they qualified for these Paralympic Games. Germany not made any substitutions yet. Vilke trying to get the ball over the halfway line, does so to Herbst. Look at him snatch that one out of the air. We're into the final 45 seconds. Germany 1 point adrift. Now what they could do is try to take a timeout to run the clock down. You can see the shot clock is down to 10 seconds. I think the main thing they want to do is score. So Canada now have 28.7 seconds left, and they will look to use as much time as possible. That way they will have the last possession of the quarter, prevent Germany from scoring, and that gives them a 1 point advantage. And you can see from the arrow top right of your screen, that's the possession arrow. So the team attacking in that direction, Canada, will have the next possession at the start of the next quarter. So it won't be a tip-off. That's why Zach Medell's taking his time, going over the line. Wecker knocks him over. Canada take a 1-point lead. Germany with a Hail Mary pass. No, it's not quite a try. So the clock didn't start until Wilke touched it. Wilke got to the ball. But as you can see, the referee's putting the cone back where it belongs. And that's because Wilke, as Canada try and force it forward, Wilke went over the cone, so the try didn't count. And at the end of the first quarter, Canada lead it by the slimmest of margins, 13-12. And you saw exactly why Josko Wilke there was disappointed. He went over the cone, and that way the point didn't count, so Canada lead it 13-12 at the first break. Various players in the squad. You've got 12 people in each squad, only 4 allowed out there at any one time, so those who haven't seen much action, or indeed any action yet, getting out there and warming up. 2 turnovers committed by Germany. That's the main difference at the moment. And you think, well, 2 turnovers, how come it's only a 1-point difference? Well, Canada will make that a 2-point difference, you would have thought, because they will have the possession arrow at the start of the second quarter. Germany winning the tip-off, and Marco Herbst scoring the first point. He's the one that Germany rely on. Their main scorer, Zach Medell, the main scorer and main provider. You can see him there teeing up his teammate Cody Caldwell. Anthony Letourneau, great chest pass from him. And then you can see he immediately moved to his right to block one of the German players, Britta Kripke. So it's not just about passing. It's even when you score the point, you're immediately back on defense, so you always have to make sure that you've got both an offensive and a defensive mindset. And that's what all of these players do so well. Patrick Cote speaks fluent English, so he's there giving his team talks in English. Rio Kanikovac looks like he's worked up a bit of a sweat there, needs to maybe give those glasses a wipe. 3-minute break for the fans to catch their breath, and we will be back underway very soon indeed. Back underway. Canada had the possession arrow, so they have the first possession of the second quarter, and they will be looking to double their lead. If you can score last in every quarter and first in every quarter, that is an 8-point difference. That's what all of these teams work on. Canada have got Eric Rodriguez out there now, Cody Caldwell, Zach Medell and Travis Mouraun. That is their lineup at the moment. So they've gone 3-5, 2-5, 1-1. Germany sticking with their original 4, Kripke, Wecker, Wilke and Herbst. And an immediate turnover. So Canada looking to make it the first 2 scores of this second quarter. Germany setting up just outside the key. Reminder that you can only have 3 defenders in the key. So Wilke needs to be very careful that he doesn't put a wheel in there at any point. blocking incredibly well, but look at that, waited very patiently. Medel gives it to Caldwell. Just go through that lineup again, sorry. It's Medel, Caldwell, Moran, and Rodriguez. While I'm trying to do that, every time I try to do the lineup, there's another turnover. And Christoph Werner, I think, has seen enough. 1 minute and 6 seconds, and his team have shipped 2 points, and it's about to be 3. So Christoph Werner calls a coach's timeout. 11 of Canada's 15 tries for Zach Medel, and he set up the other 4. So Christoph Werner decides to take a coach's timeout. They last for 1 minute, and you can take 2 of them throughout the match. And there he really needed to refocus his team. They came out of the 3-minute break in disarray, really. They conceded 2 points, 2 turnovers. Canada setting up once again the key defense, the European defense, as a lot of teams refer to it as. Popped over the top, and Travis Moran cruises over the line. So balanced lineup for Canada, 3-5-2-2.5. Germany, of course, with 8.5 out there, courtesy of Britta Kripke. Herbst used up 20 of the 40 seconds. Medel bats that away. You could see the referee there, Paulina Schmidt. She then pointed in the direction that Germany were attacking in, so it's going to be Germany's inbound, but still feels like half a turnover when you can bat the ball away like that, and it doesn't reset the shot clock. So you can hear the Germans counting down. Wilke gets over. Germans in the crowd, they followed, some of their fans followed them all the way down to Wellington, the southern tip of North Island of New Zealand, in March for that Paralympic qualifying tournament, where they defeated Brazil in the 3rd and 4th place playoff and got the 3rd and final berth here at these Paralympics. Brazil, an emergent team, made it all the way through to the semi-finals of that qualifying tournament. They have Benoit Labrec, a Canadian coach from Quebec. Benoit Labrec, the coach from Quebec. You'll be watching now, no doubt. Coached all around the world, coached Sweden for a while. And now he's coaching Brazil, and they are an emerging force. Don't be surprised to see them in 4 years' time in Los Angeles, the next Paralympics. Now, 6 seconds left for Herbst to try and pick the lock here, unless he calls a timeout. And that's exactly what he did, with 0.5 seconds left on the clock. There was no way he was going to get through, so rather than relinquish possession, he says timeout. That resets the shot clock to 15 seconds. It also means that Christoph Werner can have a little chat to his team. As you can see, player timeouts left, 2 for Germany, 3 for Canada. It's only 30 seconds, so the Germans are going to have to get out there sooner rather than later. Canada already set up in the key. 3 of them in there, and then Cody Caldwell just outside. Key with timeouts is to use them well. So if you take a timeout, you need to score from it. 10 seconds for the inbound, and now the clock starts counting down. Herbst is hemmed in. Wilke now. 8 seconds to go. Herbst needs to get free. He is waiting for it inside, and beautifully done. It ended up being a penalty try. Travis Moran, I think, the one with the inbound, left the court. So either way, it was a score for Germany. They used that timeout well. Timeouts are there to be used. They're there to be converted into points. Kripke with the inbound. Wilke hemmed in. Needs to get the ball over the halfway line. And that was the problem, you see. Wecker wanted to get the ball over the halfway line before it ticked down to 28 seconds. A speculative pass. Desperate to get it out there. Herbst, I think, wanted to knock it forward almost. 4 turnovers committed by Germany. 2 of them already in this quarter. Inbound, and since the ball was dead, that gave Canada the opportunity to make some substitutions. Players can come off and on almost without limitation. It's not the case that once you're off, as is the case with certain sports. However, if you want to come on, you see Kripke inbounding, you have 10 seconds to inbound. The clock doesn't start, but you do have 10 seconds, and if you don't do it within the 10, turnover. Players need to be in the substitution box. You can see lines in between the Canadian bench there, for example, and the scorers table in the middle. There's a little box there on either side, and players need to be in that substitution box ready to come on. So there are the lines, the pink lines on the floor that you can see now on either side of the scorers table. No one in there at the moment, so no substitutions in the offing. Canada were just 1 point clear at the start of the second quarter. They've now extended that to 5. Canada 5 points clear. It's likely to go down to 4 here if Herbst can score. He's been brilliantly blocked. The fact that Canada are 5 clear has given them the opportunity to rest Zach Medell. So Medell's gone off. Mike Whitehead has come on. And there's another turnover. Jens Sauerbier, who has come on for Germany, replacing Stefan Wecker, like for like, a 2-pointer. Couldn't corral that ball. It would have been his first touch. A difficult one for him to get a grab on. So you can see Canada have made changes. Anthony Letourneau is back out there. Rio Kandakovac, Byron Green, and then Mike Whitehead. So Canada going 3-2-5-2.5. Mike Whitehead, 48 years old, plays for the Ontario Thunder, made his debut at international level in 2001, so huge experience for him. Swarming defense there from Canada, and Sauerbier does get his hands on this one before he goes over the line, so finally it's a point for Germany. But they're 5 adrift. Well, it looks a great pass because it was corralled there by Kandakovac. That one just out of the outstretched grasp of a couple of Germans there. I think Wilke and Sauerbier almost got their fingertips to it. Herbst takes it over the line, but Germany struggling to advance the ball. The ball knocked free there. You could see the referee signaling that it will be Germany's from the inbound. Of course, they were already in possession, so the shot clock isn't reset. You can see it was ruffled out there by Mike Whitehead. So the shot clock down to 17 now. attackers can't be in the key for more than 10 seconds. Wilke getting through there and scoring. Germany, even when they score, it's incredibly hard work for them. Give and go inbound. Whitehead looking around. Three-pointer finds the 2.5-pointer, and Kandakovac makes his way through. Been a great addition to their team. Very quick high-pointer. Now, you heard a pop there. Who is the one? Is it Kandakovac who's asking for it? I think it is. So you heard a pop. That was a tyre exploding. And the mechanics are going to come back out while everybody else, while the mechanics get to work on Kandakovac. Out comes the Canadian mechanic there, and he'll pop that wheel off, pop another one back on. The wheels themselves cost anything up to around $2,000. Can get them a little cheaper than that. In fact, you get them a lot cheaper than that, but at this level, they're incredibly expensive. And then the mechanics pop them off and on, and then have to set to work repairing the tyres. That's their main job. Spend many an hour late into the night doing that when tournaments are on. Sour beer needs to get the ball over the line, bounces it over, and it's picked up by Whitehead. It's another turnover. All too easy for Canada at the moment. Germany opting not to use a timeout there, but losing possession. A point on the board there. They needed that one, but it's 24-18 to Canada as we get into the final 2 minutes of the second quarter, and indeed the first half. This is the kind of time when teams look at time stamps. Now, a score there for Le Tourneau. I don't think there's going to be, I think they're going to say no harm, no foul from Wilke. If you hit a player behind the axle, that was pretty much mid or front of the wheel there. They were side by side. If you clip somebody behind the midpoint of the wheel, the axle, a little hole in the middle, then that makes them spin round, and it's called a spinning foul. And you're not allowed to do that. Garrett Hickling there is the fellow on the left. He is the assistant coach. There he is with the maple leaf cap on. Elected to the Hall of Fame. One of Canada's most storied players and one of wheelchair rugby's most storied players. 25-18 for Canada, and yes, this is when, oh, we're going to have more running repairs for Marco Herbst. This is when teams start to look at time stamps. So 2 minutes to go, and again, you want to be scoring last in every quarter. And so players will either know themselves, or they will have boards held up by their coaching staff telling them when the ideal moment is to score. At the moment, 1 minute and 5 is de rigueur. So 1 minute and 5 remaining to score. That means that even if your opponents take a full 40 seconds of possession to score, you've then got 25 seconds left to run the clock down, score, and score the last point of the quarter. Le Tourneau going over the line there. So again, Paulina Schmitz, the referee there, she's opting to send players to the bin rather than give penalty tries. Wilke, she was saying Wilke wasn't necessarily going to score there. So 4 on 3. Le Tourneau's in the bin, so it means it's 8.5 playing 6 in terms of classification out there. And Herbst scores. Out of the bin comes Le Tourneau. 1.05, that is exactly what I was talking about, as we see Garrett Hickling in the background there, who I was talking about earlier. Patrick Cote holding up a board saying 1:05. He wants Canada now to run that clock down to 1:05. So the ball is going to be picked up here by Mike Whitehead, and he is going to spin around and take his time and endeavor to get the ball over the line with 1:05 left. So he's now going to make his way towards the line. Best laid plans. There we go. 1:02. I think they'll take that. So that was an illustration of how teams work for timestamps. Germany now. Of course, if a team scores incredibly at around 1:05, the way of replying is to score as quickly as possible. That's what Germany have done, so 48.8 left. That means that even if Canada use the full 40 seconds, Germany will have 8.8 seconds left in which to score. So will Canada try to score really quickly, or will they try to run the clock down? Now, there has been a turnover. Sauerbier managing to get the turnover there. I think it was Whitehead not getting the ball over the halfway line. So now it's Germany's turn to try to run the clock down. This would be wonderful for them. They don't have the possession arrow. I think it was a held ball is what it was. So it wasn't the 12-second rule, it was a held ball. So they get this possession. It's like in basketball, the equivalent of a jump ball. So it was a contested possession. And that meant that the ball went their way. So a turnover for them of sorts. It means, though, that Canada will have the possession arrow, and they will have the first possession of the final quarter. So they have 9 seconds in which to score the last point of this quarter. And just about managed to do that. Whitehead getting possession of the ball before wheels go over the line. Now 1.5 seconds to go. A Hail Mary pass all the way forward, goes nowhere. And at the end of the first half, Canada lead it 27-21. Canada 27, Germany 21. It was 13-12 at the end of the first quarter, and then a 14-9 quarter for Canada there, really showing their experience on this stage. Germany haven't been at the Paralympics for 16 years. Canada, meanwhile, regulars. Last time that they got a medal was in London 12 years ago. Never won the tournament, got silver medals in Atlanta 1996 when it was a demonstration sport, Athens 2004, bronze in Beijing 2008, and then London 2012. Marco Herbst done his best. Herbst, Wilke, Wecker. That was how they started the first quarter and indeed the second quarter. Zach Medell, standout player for Canada, but Canada found themselves so far clear early in the second quarter that they could afford to give the big man a rest. So he ended up on the sidelines for much of it. And the reason why he was afforded a rest was because Germany committed a fair number of turnovers. Strength and depth for Canada. Whitehead, a high pointer, came on for Medell. Rio Kandakovac, a high mid-pointer, if you will, a 2.5. Balance in the lineup, Anthony Letourneau. A bit of a wry smile as he got over the line. And there you can see the main thing is the turnovers. No turnovers for Canada, 6 for Germany. And what's the difference in points? 6 points. It is as simple as that. Canada leading it 27-21. In the big break, we have a 10-minute break at half-time.
Est-ce que ici dans la salle, il y a déjà des supporters français qui sont chauds bouillants? Vous connaissez peut-être pas la coutume ici, mais une chose est sûre, c'est qu'on est derrière toute l'équipe de France Paralympique. Et j'ai une très bonne nouvelle pour vous. Viennent de s'ajouter à la liste 2 nouvelles médailles pour l'équipe de France. Il ramène la médaille à la maison après son titre paralympique à Tokyo en 2021. Nouvelle médaille d'or, mesdames et messieurs, pour Alexandre Léoté. Et quelques minutes plus tard, une nouvelle médaille, cette fois-ci vice-champion paralympique en paratir sportif. Mesdames et messieurs, faites un tonnerre d'applaudissements pour Tanguy de la Forest. Tous ensemble. L'Arena Champ-de-Mars, vous la connaissez forcément tous si vous êtes français. Je veux tous vous entendre chanter sur du Jean-Jacques. Plus fort. Je vous vois en feu sur le refrain, l'Arena Champ-de-Mars. Attention! C'est pas mal, c'est pas mal. Je vous vois encore plus fort sur le deuxième refrain. Allez, là, on chante tout le monde debout. Faites-moi péter cette salle.
Ten-minute break coming to an end. A break for the players, not for the stadium announcer or indeed the fans here in the Champ de Mars, a beautiful arena that has been custom built for the Paris 2024 Olympics and Paralympics. It's at the foot of the Eiffel Tower. It stretches across the 15th arrondissement of Paris, from La Motte-Piquet, Grenelle, all the way to the foot of the Eiffel Tower. And even encompasses the statue of a First World War field marshal. Canada getting us back underway. They had the first possession of the third quarter. The possession arrow was in their favour. Zach Medel is back out, and they lead it 28-21. Canada going high-low, and we are getting to see Matt Deblis. So they're going 3-5, 3-1.5. The 3-5 is Zach Medel. And there you see him spinning around Moritz Brückner, who has come out for Germany. We've still got Herbst at #1 and 5. Wilke out there. They're going to play every minute, I reckon. But Moritz Brückner, a 1.5, and Florian Bongard, a 1-pointer. They are out there. So Germany trying to shake things up. Taking the time here because Zach Medel is in the bin. It was a reaching foul by Zach Medel. And then Brückner and Bongard went and kept an eye on Medel, not letting him out of the sin bin. So the only way to get out when you're being blocked in by opponents is to put your hand up and say, "Ref, I want to be the one to take the inbound." And the reason why defenders do that, try to make, there's a little hip check there from Medel. And it's Wilke who bounces off him. He's been on the deck quite a bit, as Josko Wilke. That's exactly what happens here. Wilke, a 2-pointer, trying to go wheel for wheel with Zach Medel. He's trying to reach in and get the ball there. That was never going to happen. And he just bounces off Medel. The reason why you want to have the high pointers on the opposite team having to inbound is because you're then taking 3 or 3.5 points off the court. Obviously, they can then get back on quite quickly. Also, there's the fact that high pointers aren't used to inbounding. They don't do it that often. It's obviously something that they look at in training, but they don't do it all that often. Careful there, Germany. They almost took the ball back into the back court. When you go into the front court, you can't then take the ball back to the back court. Or if you're in possession of the ball, you can't have your wheels moving back over the line. Or if your chair's half over the line and you're in possession of the ball and you're knocked backwards, roll backwards, that's an over and back, like a backcourt violation in basketball. Matt de Blie, reasonably recent addition to the team. Plays in London when he's in Canada, plays in Detroit. So pops through the Windsor Tunnel over the border and plays for Detroit when he plays in the USA. You can hear the Germans in the crowd shouting, "Auf geht's Deutschland," let's go Germany. They're not giving up. Josko Wilke's not giving up. Christoph Werner's not giving up on the shouting. So you can see there Germans swarming around, trying to block the high pointers. de Blie and Medel trying to reduce the options on the inbound. The ball went out of play, but it was knocked out of play by a German. And there we go, Medel over the line. Herbst with a lot of attention from Rodriguez and de Blie. And now those two try to fire their way back. Florian Bongard gets it over the line. Now that one too much even for the speedy Zach Medel. Absolutely fired forward, but no backspin on the pass. You see the ball rolling true, not bouncing, no backspin, so it wasn't bouncing back towards Medel. So that's a turnover for Germany. It's the first one that they've managed to cause. Small victories for Germany. It'll be a small victory if they can get over the line here, which they do via Marco Herbst. 11 tries for him, almost half of Germany's total. De Blie to Medel. Great advantage of two high pointers in your lineup. If you've got a 3 and a 3-5, then you've got a player who can launch it the length of the court, and then a player who can catch up with almost any pass. Herbst to Wilke. That's as near as they get to having the high-low. Wilke, incredibly quick for a two-pointer. Talking about classification, Zach Medel, 3.5 points and fires that one over the top. Matt de Blie, 3 points. Classifications can be ongoing. There are times when players are classified for life, but particularly earlier in their careers and in club careers as well. Classification is an ongoing thing, and you can have classification changing during a tournament. You have classifiers alongside the scorers table who are analysing all of the players and deciding whether, for example, Josko Wilke on the ball, should he be actually a 2.5? And obviously, if that changes mid-tournament, then it can make life very difficult. You've been practicing, you're only allowed 8 points out there at any one point, at any one time. If all of a sudden, the combinations that you're used to playing, the 4 players you usually have there at any one time, you can't play those 4 because a 2 has gone up to a 2.5 and therefore has to play with a 0.5 as opposed to a 1.0. It makes life very difficult for coaches. But obviously, it's all part of the sport. Can't have unfair advantages. Wilke needs to get the ball over the halfway line. Does to Herbst. Herbst needs to make sure he doesn't go back over the halfway line. Has to bounce it every 10 seconds, or pass it, or score. And score he does. Germany getting it back to within 5. They were 28-21 down at one point. And have turned things around a little bit. And they're going to turn it around even more if De Blie can't keep this one in. And a timeout called. You could hear it and see it from referee Schmidt. De Blie having to call the timeout there. Why not? They've got plenty of them in their pockets. Two floor timeouts left for each team. Patrick Cote, Garrett Hickling behind him with the maple leaf cap on. 53 years old. Inducted recently into the Hall of Fame of wheelchair rugby. Very storied player. And recently added to the bench for Team Canada. He was down in Upper Hutt, which is the little town near Wellington where the Paralympic qualification tournament was held in early March. Hirschfeld, a great inbound for a one-pointer. To be able to inbound the ball that well is amazing. Hirschfeld, though, with plenty of experience, 39 years old. Co-captain, made his international debut in 2006. Plays in BC, so British Columbia, over on the west coast. Medel, all business, got his game face on. German fans in good voice again. Canada setting up in and around the key. But if anyone can get through, it's Marco Herbst. Trevor Hirschfeld, Eric Rodriguez out there as well. There's Rodriguez doing the blocking. Medel loses possession. Not often that you get to say that phrase as a commentator. But of course, as soon as he loses it, he gets it right back. And a little bit of a sigh of relief there from Zach Medel. So there it was, the second turnover, and it just bounced this way and that. Very unlucky there. Florian Bongard. Wilke forced to throw the ball forwards, and that is reeled in by Trevor Hirschfeld. What a one-pointer he is. He's such a great player to have as a one-pointer. And then a 3.5-pointer fires it forward to the three-pointer. Cote and Hickling are going to love that. But Trevor Hirschfeld, the core strength that he's got for a one-pointer is amazing. So another turnover against Germany. Wilke's not going to have the wheels to get past Medel. Boxed in by Medel and Hirschfeld. Very much boxed in. He's got to bounce it. So bounces it out to Herbst. Herbst coming around. Great blocks there by Moritz Brückner. And that was tapped out of the way by Medel, but it's going to be a turnover. I think it might have been, we're going to see who was actually over the line. And Medel got his fingertips to it, but Wilke was actually over the line, so went out of the field of play. Changes left, right and centre made by both Christophe Werner and Patrick Côté. Whitehead, Letourneau, Green and Kandakovic back on for Canada. Kripke, Wilke, Herbst and Wecker, the original starting lineup, back on for Germany. It's 31-38, it was 21-28 at one point. It's now 31-38. Wilke has to go to the sin bin. So it'll be 4 on 3, it'll be 8 on 6.5. Wilke, I think, went out of bounds. Canada taking their time scoring this one. Because obviously as soon as you score, attack turns to defence, so they want to make sure they're ready. That's why Anthony Letourneau is going back. Letourneau is going to sit in front of the penalty box and make sure that Wilke can't get out. The only way Wilke's allowed out is by raising his hand and saying, I will take the inbound. So again, it's 2 points off the court. But a little give and go between him and Kripke. And he gets the ball over the halfway line, bounces it, so he's fulfilling all of his obligations. All he needs to do now is score. Hands it off to Herbst. Great blocking by all of the Canadians there, all four involved. Oh, that lands perfectly in the lap of Wilke. What a pass that was. These two combined very well together, and that one lands absolutely in the lap of Wilke. Whitehead running down the clock as we're getting to the end of the third quarter, so Canada would like to get the final score. Germany get the next possession, so Germany will start the next quarter in possession, and they're in possession now, having got a turnover. And Wecker there firing over the line. He went over a little quickly there. He wanted to make sure he scored, so it means that Canada have got 8.4 seconds from now in which to score. Werner was telling them to get back as quickly as possible, the Germans. And with a quarter of a second to go, Anthony Letourneau lets out a big roar, gets over the line, and delight from his teammates because they get the final score of the quarter and they lead it 40-34. Delight there on the faces of the entire Canadian bench. They get the final score of the third quarter, 40-33. They lead it. A little bit of naivety from the Germans. They got a turnover. Wecker was given the ball and he absolutely raced over the line and left Canada 8.4 seconds for another possession. And the clock only restarts once the ball has been touched by a chair or a player after the inbound, and Canada had just enough time to get over the line and get the final score. 6 turnovers to Germany, 1 from Canada, and Germany have reduced the turnovers. It was 6-0, and they managed to make sure there were no turnovers in that third quarter, so that's a little bit of a win for them, and they got a turnover from Canada. But Canada still 7 points clear. Liddell came on early in the third quarter, and we saw Matt Deblee come out for his first action of these Paralympics and his first Paralympic action overall. That was The advantage for Canada of having a three-pointer and a 3.5-pointer. The three-pointer there, Deblis firing it forward to the 3.5-pointer, Medel. Wilke and Herbst, that's the magic combination for Germany. Then we saw the likes of Moritz Brückner and Florian Bongard coming out. Brückner, a youngster, made his debut at the European Championships around 18 months ago in Cardiff. Canada leading it 40-33. Zach Medel, 20 of Canada's 40 tries, and he hasn't been on the court for, he's probably only been there for about 2/3 of the play, for a total of 2 of the 3 quarters. Resting up, Canada will be hoping to make it through to the semi-finals. Top 2 in each group, Group A and Group B, go through to the semi-finals. Teams to the 3rd and 4th play off for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place. So Germany get us underway in the final quarter. Canada setting up in a key defense. Germany have gone back to the well. They've got their original starting lineup of Kripke, Herbst, Wecker and Wilke. 4 in the key is the call. So it's a penalty try against Canada. First on the board. Canada now with Travis Moran, the inbound. Gives it off to Byron Green. So that's 2-pointer and a 0.5. Rio Kandakovac, top right of your screen, he's 2.5. And Mike Whitehead picks up the ball and gets over the line. He's a 3-pointer. Kripke has a little more time for the inbound because the referee was rearranging the posts. Gives it to Wilke, who has been hemmed in by Green and Moran. Great hands there. Fired forward by Kandakovac. And Whitehead gets it. Defense Deutschland is the cry. And they've kept Canada out for 25 seconds. Kandakovac comes in with a huge block on Herbst, bashes him out of the way. A 2.5-pointer clears a 3.5-pointer out of the way. To the delight of Patrick Cote. That's exactly what you need to be doing. Kandakovac trying to recommend himself. Made his debut on the big stage at the Paralympic Games last November down in Santiago. So just 21 years old, 22 in November, plays for the London Annihilators. Travis Moran showing great push there, great acceleration for a 2-pointer. Speaking of 2-pointers, Wecker to Wilke. And then the 3.5-pointer gets it over the line. Patient play from Kandakovac. Timeout called. I think it had already been called by one of Kandakovac's teammates. But referee Schmidt was already calling it before Kandakovac called it. Floor timeouts can be called by any member of the team that is in possession. It doesn't have to be the person in possession of the ball, but you have to be, your team has to be in possession of the ball. And you have to have timeouts left. If you call for a timeout and there isn't one left, it's a turnover. Well, calling for a timeout and then not scoring from it is not something that makes coaches happy. Popped over the top, but Moran not expecting it. Great blocking there, the Germans like that. It's a corner inbound for them after the turnover, which is always awkward. And you can see that there's not a lot of space for them to use there. But they've done what they need to do, which is get it to their high pointer. Is that a reaching foul, or was it that it's... Well, the foul's been given against Herbst. Right, so Whitehead reached in, got his hand on the ball, and then Herbst reached out onto him. So cleverly done by Whitehead. Less cleverly done here. He's given the ball away, and a nice little basketball bounce from Wilke, to the delight of the fans, to the delight of Mama Wilke, who's in the crowd there, cheering on her son. A timeout's been called by Canada because I think we've had a turnover again. Wilke knocking Moran out of play. So here was the turnover. And Josko Wilke picking that one up nicely. So coach's timeout called by Patrick Cote. Deficit's down to 5 points, and there was another turnover indeed. Moran was knocked out of play. He wasn't the one inbounding, but there was... Moran was... allowed himself to be knocked over the line. You can't knock the inbounder back over the line. That's illegal. You've got to give the inbounder 1 meter in which to work. But it's slightly sloppy from Canada. And it's going to be a penalty try there, given against Joel Ewert, the number 30, who has come on for his first action, 2.5-pointer. Trevor Hirschfield is on. Joel Ewert is out there. And how about that? Well, he seems to spend a lot of time on the ground as Josko Wilke, but he's spending a lot of time getting turnovers here. That's 3 in a row for him alone. Hirschfield gets it out there. Ewert couldn't pick it up. And he gets tapped in the back by Zach Medell. Spins over the line. He won't mind that. So all of a sudden, the 6-point game is a 3-pointer. Nervous times for Canada. That's why Zach Medell's come back on. That's why they're looking for him from the inbound there, Hirschfield. And you'd still say this is by far and away Canada's to lose. But they're worried. They had to bring Zach Medell back out there. Germany have got it to within 4 points with 5 minutes to go. They've got the favourites out there. Kripke, Wilke, Wecke and Herbst. Herbst has got Medell for company. And the ball spins away and is lost. It's a turnover. That resets the shot clock. And it's been stolen again. So that again resets the shot clock. Stolen again, resets the shot clock. And finally it gets into the lap of Zach Medell, who says, let's calm things down. Let's play this sport the way it's meant to be played. There was 3 turnovers in a row there. Patrice Dagenet was out there and had his pocket picked. Marco Herbst says, I'm going to do a Zach Medell on it and show you how to score. So after all that, multiple turnovers, but we end up with the 2 high pointers, 1 for each team scoring. Medel having to come back to be the option on the inbound. An obvious reaching foul there from Herbst. You can see that clear as day, and Herbst is going to have to go to the bin. You've got to gamble at this point. It's a 4-point game. We're going to see, there's the first turnover. Dagenet picked it up. Dagenet then lost it. Picked up by Wecker. Wecker threw it away. Dagenet got it back. So, Herbst bottom right in the bin as Britta Kripke has the sleeve put back in place. You need to gamble when you fall behind with 4.5 minutes to go. But the problem here is that it is 8 on 5. It's not just 4 on 3, it's 8 on 5. Out there at the moment, they've got 2 2-pointers and a 1-pointer. Ewart with the try. Herbst to get out is forced to inbound, and who's he going to inbound to? Nobody able to get free. Medel is keeping Wilke company. Wilke has called a floor timeout, which is the right thing to do. Because again, with Herbst inbounding, that means he's off court. So he's only got 5 points to aim at. 2 2-pointers and a 1-pointer. Timeout taken, and that means you can change your inbounder. So Kripke it is who's going to inbound, and that means that she's got 7.5 to aim at. Kripke to Wilke is the way they like to inbound. And yet it doesn't come off because Marco Herbst was being blocked by Zach Medel. Medel ends up finishing that one off to the delight of the lady with the Équipe Canada t-shirt in the crowd. And the Canadians find themselves 6 clear now. Herbst manages to free himself from Medel. Medel goes and has a look at Zauerbier, who's on now. And great blocking by Wilke. He went crashing into Cody Caldwell. So a quick look at the lineups again. Cody Caldwell, Eric Rodrigue, Zach Medel and Anthony Letourneau out there for Canada. 3-5, 2, 2 and 0.5. And there's the 3-5 who's going to pick that one up. Canada 6 clear as we enter the last half of the final quarter. Again, they're doing an incredible job blocking there. Caldwell and Rodriguez. Medel telling Letourneau what to do. Letourneau trying to block, to knock Zauerbier out of play, but Zauerbier saw it coming and held his wheels. Timeout called. It's going to be the final coach's timeout for Christoph Werner. Herbst and Medel, the 2 high pointers, the flamboyant ones, but it's always good to watch the other players. Those of you who watch regularly, those of you who play, you know how valuable the mid and the low pointers are. Those of you who are watching it for the first time or only watch it when it's the Paralympics, great to have you watching now, and have a look at the others. Not necessarily the Zach Medels who are in possession at the moment. Look at the other players there. The block that was done by Cody Caldwell. Getting in the way, shepherding and blocking other players. Look at the blocks there being put on Josko Wilke, bottom right. Cody Caldwell making life tough for Wilke. Anthony Letourneau making life tough for Jens Zauerbier. And this is going to be a timeout called. It would look like it was going to be an over and back by Marco Herbst. Medell's last try. Now Herbst picked up the ball and was about to be bounced. He was half in, half out the front court, which counts as already being in the front court, but if you get knocked backwards whilst holding the ball, then that counts as an over and back, so a backcourt violation. And he used the final floor timeout that Germany have to make sure that they didn't lose possession. Cody Caldwell seems to take a little bit longer to replace this wheel. So he's being strapped back in. Repairs are meant to be done within the minute. Referees give a little bit more leeway, and he's being strapped back in here. So the score is there, 19 for Herbst, 24 for Medell. Herbst and Wilke, 31 of Germany's 43 points. Complaint from Herbst saying, come on, you're not, it's meant to be a minute, and you go back off if you have to be taken off. You can't actually be substituted off, you're just taken off, and then when there's a dead ball, the player can come on to replace you. Herbst goes over. Germany get it back to win 5, but there are only 3 minutes to go. So if they're going to turn this around, they need to do it right now. They need to get turnover after turnover after turnover. But that's not going to happen with Zach Medell on the opposite team. Full court press from the Canadians, getting very far forward, and that one can't quite get to Zauerbier. Caldwell gets in the way. And they're saying that it came off Zauerbier's arm. Zauerbier says, Caldwell reached over onto me, but it's a turnover. Medell to Caldwell. 2 points is going to take his time, maintain possession. Letourneau, what a great 2-pointer he is. Look at that chest pass from Letourneau. Great feed there from the man with the goggles. Zauerbier gets it forward to Herbst. Herbst now with Letourneau blocking him. Canadians going this way and that. Reach in there from Caldwell. And he acknowledges that, nod of the head, and says, yep, I'll head off to the bin. All takes time off the clock, and when you're leading by 7 with 2 minutes to go, nothing wrong with that. So just 6 points on the court for Canada. Herbst taking his time. That gives Wilke time to go off screen and to sit in front of the penalty box to make sure that Caldwell can't get out of it, unless he sticks his arm up and says, let me inbound. And here he comes, ready to inbound. 95 seconds to go. Canada lead it by 6 points. They'll be looking to run the score up if they can, because you never know, can come down to points difference. If they end up with 2 wins, USA with 2 wins, Canada are going to have to beat Japan if they're going to make it into the top 2. But points difference is going to be very important for them. That's why they're trying to score these tries with 83 seconds to go. Almost an over and back there. That was cleverly done by Zawabir. Made sure he got rid of the ball before he could be knocked backwards over the halfway line. Give and go at the back. Chest pass from Caldwell to Medel, who's got a lot of attention around him. The problem is if you triple team a player like Medel and he gets out of it, which he can, then all of a sudden there's nobody left either to mark him or mark anyone else. Into the final minutes, Canada leading it by 7. And swarming defense. Herbst needs to get the ball over the halfway line. Does so by the direct route, and what a pass that is to Zawabir. Caldwell with a great inbound to Letourneau, who manages to stay in play. So often said that the sideline counts as an extra defender, and he was almost pushed to the sidelines. Medel spinning this way and that. No shot clock anymore, it's the last 20 seconds. Canada are going to run the shot clock down, run the match clock down, and try to get the final score. They know that the match is in the bag. They'd like to get the final score, and this is going to go forward to Letourneau. And he's going to let the clock wind down. The crowd on their feet. The clock will start as soon as the ball is touched. Can Wilke get over the line? And he's caused, I presume, a penalty try. Are they going to give a penalty try? They are not. They are sending Rodriguez to the bin. Paulina Schmidt likes to, there she is with the ball. She likes to send players to the bin rather than give penalty tries. So the clock will start again as soon as it's touched. Can Wilke get over the line with the ball? He can't. The final hooter goes. Canada get their first win of the tournament, 54-47 over Germany. Great performance by Canada, 54-47 over Germany. Two teams who qualified via the last chance saloon, the qualification tournament in Wellington, New Zealand in March. And Canada getting their first win in Group A. To the delight of their many fans here at the Champ de Mars Arena in the west of Paris. Plenty of maple leafs there, plenty of red and white in the crowd. Fans delighted. Canada are off the mark. There's a Blue Jays hat in there. In they come into the huddle. Patrick Cote, the coach, he'll be a happy man. Virtually every player got some game time as well today, so that's incredibly good for them. German fans enjoying themselves as well. They've had less far to travel, just over the border, but they've still come in numbers and they travel all around the world. But the happier fans are the ones in red and white. Matt Deblis mask there. You can get everything at the moment. Great atmosphere here in the Champ de Mars. Venue's been virtually sold out every day. There are a few tickets left, but very, very, very healthy crowds at all of the Paralympic venues. German fan there with a Britta Kripke jersey. Christoph Werner's not going to be too disappointed. The main thing for Germany was to qualify. I think there might have been a few complaints there from Josko Wilke, and Werner telling him to calm down and enjoy the moment. As we enjoy the moments, the best moments from this match. Marco Herbst, Josko Wilke, that's the dynamic combination for Germany. As those two go, so Germany go, and Wilke managed to get 3 turnovers in a row towards the end of the match, and Zach Medell ended up having to come back on, calm things down. Germany never gave up. And Zach Medell, imagine having a player like Zach Medell in your team, what that does for you, what that does for your confidence. A man they can rely on. Didn't have to rely on him too much. Plenty of other players out there. Mike Whitehead got a lot of time today. You can see 7 turnovers committed by Germany to 3 for Canada. Germany got 5 steals, and they'll be very pleased with that. Canada got 6. So overall, a -2, if you will, for Germany, and a +3 for Canada, and that ended up making the difference. Those are the group standings. So Japan looking odds-on to qualify. It's between Canada and the United States. United States still to play Germany, Canada still to play Japan. So it's going to be a big ask for Canada. They need to overcome Japan if they are going to make it through to the semi-finals. Plenty of French fans in the crowd. They'll have enjoyed that match. And what's not to like about wheelchair rugby? An incredibly spectacular sport. Getting into the Paralympic atmosphere. Fans thoroughly enjoying themselves here at the Champ de Mars. Action galore, turnovers galore, and at the end of the day, it was Canada who took the spoils, 54-47, to get their account opened in Group A of the wheelchair rugby at the Paris 2024 Paralympics.
Allez, l'arène Champ-Mars dans quelques instants. Les joueurs des 2 équipes de l'Australie puis de la France vont faire leur entrée ici sur le terrain. Je veux entendre tout le monde commencer à se mettre dans l'ambiance. Ce match, il est primordial pour notre équipe de France. En ligne de mire, une première demi-finale historique dans leur histoire aux Jeux paralympiques. Je veux entendre tout le monde taper dans les mains pour encourager cette équipe. Et maintenant, je veux le plus gros bazar qu'ils aient jamais entendu de leur carrière. Ce moment est décisif pour eux. Ça dépend de vous, mesdames et messieurs. Faites-moi du bruit pour l'équipe de France! Je veux tous vous entendre chanter. C'est maintenant. Plus fort. L'Arena Champ-de-Mars, c'est à vous. Plus fort. Allez. Champ-de-Mars, on se relâche pas, hein. Allez, à vous. Allez, l'Arena Champ-de-Mars, c'est à vous. La première équipe est celle de l'Australie, elle est coachée par Brad Duberlet. Ils sont tout simplement numéro 1 au ranking mondial. Ils sont un petit peu en charge car ils ont terminé 4e des derniers JO de Tokyo. Ils ont pourtant dans leur bagage déjà 2 belles médailles d'or obtenues à Rio et à Londres. Ils ont surtout perdu leur tout premier match contre les champions paralympiques en titre, la Grande-Bretagne. C'était hier, 55 à 58. Gardez un œil tout au long de ce match sur Riley Batts avec 36 essais hier. Il a terminé meilleur marqueur de la partie.
Let's see a little bit more about the teams we're going to be watching in this evening's match. Australia, first of all, led by coach Brad Duberlet and assistant Jason Lees. They're current world champions and world-ranked #1. The winners of the gold medal in both London 2012 and Rio 2016 as well. Their star performer offensively in the first match, which they were edged out by Great Britain. Keep an eye on their number 3, Riley Batts, 36 tries and 1 steal in that defeat to Great Britain.
Et en face de l'équipe de l'Australie ce soir sur le terrain, bien évidemment, l'équipe de France, coachée par Bob Vanacker. L'équipe de France qui s'est fait peur hier, il faut le dire. Ils ont remporté leur match 53-51 contre le Danemark, il faut vous le dire aussi. Cette équipe de France, elle est actuellement double championne d'Europe en titre. Et je vous le disais en tout début de partie, si jamais ils s'imposent ce soir, ils sont assurés de disputer les demi-finales pour la première fois de leur histoire. Vous l'aurez compris, supporters français, ils vont avoir besoin de vous toute la soirée.
And up against Australia, France, who were winners by 2 tries against Denmark in their opening match yesterday. The back-to-back European champions in 22 and 23, beating Great Britain in both of the finals, coached by the Belgian Bob Vanacker and assisted by Justin Bushberg of Great Britain. And keep an eye on number 21, Captain Jonathan Ivanat, 29 tries and 1 steal for him in their victory over Denmark.
Supporters français, commencez à vous mettre dans l'ambiance. Regardez sur l'écran géant, c'est vous les plus beaux, c'est vous sur l'écran la dance cam. Vous avez le petit, il a tout compris. Allez, on fait ses plus beaux pas de danse, ses plus beaux sourires, les plus beaux câlins, les plus beaux bisous, les plus beaux coucous. Je veux voir tout le monde bouger, c'est la dance cam, c'est le match de l'équipe de France ce soir. On est chez nous ici. L'Arena Champ de Mars, vous avez été parfait dans quelques instants. Les joueurs vont être appelés un par un. Ça va être à vous de faire du bruit. L'Arena Champ de Mars, on se prépare. À 3, je veux entendre tout le monde faire un maximum de bruit. 1, 2, 3, du bruit!
At the Champ de Mars in Paris, at the foot of the Eiffel Tower. Host nation France taking on Australia, the world champions. Łukasz Szymczak and Pierre-Alexandre Brière will be your referees for this one. I'm Drew Lilly, your commentator. And this is what we are looking at in Pool B. Defending champions Great Britain, 2 from 2. Australia losing to them in their opener, France defeating Denmark. So everything on the line in this match. Near capacity crowd here at the Champ de Mars in this beautiful venue that has been created purely for the Paralympics and the Olympics. Outcome, Team Australia first. The Steelers, Chris Bond, their captain. Ella Sabeljack, mid-pointer, one of 3 women in the team. Here's the next one, Emily Miller, brought back into the team recently. Riley Batt. Anyone who has ever watched wheelchair rugby will know all about Riley Batt. Batt and Bond, the great combination of high pointers for Australia. Out comes Jake Howe, a 1-pointer. Bo Vernon, he was best in class, 0.5 pointer at the recent Canada Cup. Other low pointers are James McQuillan and Ben Fawcett. Shay Graham, who's got family here. Braden Foxley-Connolly, another high pointer, and he's the one, no doubt, going to take over from Riley Batt whenever Riley decides to retire from the sport. Here is the full squad of 12 that Australia have to pick from. 3 women in the squad, and there's the coach, Brad Duberly, former player, has over 500 matches as a player and a coach. Time for the French to come out. The local hero, Cédric Nankin, perhaps the best defender in the country. Jonathan Hivernat, captain, fantastic. Got his faces on t-shirts and on masks. Hivernat is likely going to play all 32 minutes. Nicolas Valentin, number 1. Adrien Chalmin, number 4. Rodolphe Jarlon, mid-pointer, 2.5 pointer, number 5. The crowd cheering absolutely every player to the rafters. Is that all they're going to come out with? They've only got 6 out at the moment. Riyad Salem comes out. Another Parisian, well into his 50s, former basketball player. He was going to retire, but he wanted his face on a mask. Number 10, Brice Morel. Number 14, Jordan Ducret. Parents travel all around the world to watch him. His mother's here as a volunteer. Number 20, the new player in the squad, Tristan Barfetti. Number 33, Sébastien Verdun. He'll be up front with Jonathan Hivernat and then Corentin Le Guen, low pointer. Coached by Bob Van Acker, the Belgian, former Belgian player, former Belgian coach. Thrown his lot in with the French, and what a great decision he's made. They defeated Denmark in their opener. Aussies in the crowd. They've travelled a long way, but they're going to be outnumbered. So time for Avance Australia Fair, followed by the Marseillaise.
Et maintenant, si vous le pouvez, merci de rester debout pour l'hymne national de la France.
Please remain standing for the national anthem of France.
What an atmosphere here in the Champ de Mars at the foot of the Eiffel Tower. Paris 2024 Paralympics. And listen to the crowd in here. World champions Australia, double European champions France. What a showdown this is. Jonathan Hiverna, he's the man on the mask there. His opposite number is Captain Chris Bond. The French brimming with confidence. Australians looking perhaps a little bit nervous when they came in. Here's the starting lineup for them. It's their typical high-low. Riley Batt, Chris Bond, James McQuillan, Bo Vernon. 2 3.5 pointers, 2 0.5 pointers. That's how they like to start. Get Batt and Bond out there. Brad Duberly giving them some last-minute advice. Sam Allen alongside him. So this is also how the French like to line up as well. Jonathan Hiverna, Sébastien Verdun, the 2 3-pointers. Corentin Le Guen, the low pointer. And then the advantage they have of playing the 2 3-pointers as opposed to 3.5s is you can play Cédric Nankin, the best 1.5-pointer in the world. Aussies looking a little bit nervous when they came out 10 or 15 minutes ago. A lot of work was being done by Blair Thompson, the mechanic. A lot of chairs being tinkered with. Chris Bond was on the sidelines for quite some time. Riley Batt was out of his chair. Chris Bond acknowledging his opponents very sportingly. Riley Batt goes and does the same, trying to show that they've got no nerves. Batt and Bond, champions. In 2012-2016, Australia win the tip-off. Riley Batt, the first possession. Chris Bond picks that one up. Looks around to make sure that everyone is in position, and the Aussies get us underway. The Steelers lead it 1-0. Inbound from Le Guen to Hiverna. We've seen the dynamic duo of Batt and Bond. We're now going to see the dynamic duo of Hiverna and Verdun. Hiverna doing it all on his own at the moment. Squeezes past Riley Batt, and the crowd goes wild. Bo Vernon with the inbound to Chris Bond. Hiverna comes up to try to tackle him. Get the ball over the line within 12 seconds is the first imperative. Bounce it every 10 seconds. There's the next one. And after that, just score. Team Shea. That's for Shea Graham on the bench at the moment for the Aussies, but we may well see her a little bit later. A reminder, Australia have 3 female players in their team. So that means they can have an extra 0.5 out there for every female player they have on the court. Hiverna forced to go this way and that. Good blocking from McQuillan. Nankin trying to help Ivana get through there. Down to around 10 seconds. They won't be panicking yet. Pops it over the top to Verdun. The crowd go wild. Ivana, Verdun. As they go, so the French go. Chris Bond, how he manages to go along the sideline the way he does. Absolutely amazing. Coast to coast in the space of seconds. Those of you unfamiliar, if you look at the back of the chairs there, you can see 3.0 on the back of Ivana's chair. That's the classification that you have. 1.5 on the back of Nankin's chair, and you're allowed 8 points out there at any one time. And then an extra 0.5 for any female players you have. France have no women in their squad. Australia 3. Being made to work for their tries here, the French. Reach in there from Bond, couldn't quite get to it. And timeout is called by Jonathan Ivernat. Delight for the Australians. They have forced France to take a timeout early on. You could see the T symbol there from Ivernat. He knew he wasn't going to get over within the 40 seconds. You have 40 seconds in which to score, and he wasn't going to get in there in time. So this resets the shot clock to 15. You have 4 of these player timeouts, or floor timeouts as the players themselves tend to call them, and they're used tactically. So another 15 seconds on the shot clock. Le Guen with a corner inbound, never an easy thing. Can France convert this timeout into a score? They'll be desperate to make it count, and Verdun just gets through. They do indeed make good use of that timeout. Now look at the way Riley Batt has been blocked there. Vernon has 10 seconds in which to inbound. The shot clock doesn't start until the inbounded ball has been touched by a chair or a player. Riley Batt was absolutely hemmed in, but Brad Dubley, the coach, will be delighted about the fact that Chris Bond got himself free. So inbound from Le Guen. He's always going to be looking for Ivernat. Ivernat now needs to get it over the line. It's a wheel race now between the two of them. Great blocking there by Verdun, and that allows Ivernat to get through for all. Captain's knock already from Chris Bond. Australia, you can't see them at the moment. They are setting up in the key. You are allowed 3 defenders in the key, which is why James McQuillan is out of it. Often called the European defence, going back in the key. Forces the opposition to come at you, and that's exactly what Jonathan Ivernat has done. Barges his way through. Australia need to find a way to stop Ivernat. You saw Bo Vernon try to do it with his pick bar then. Pick bar is what the low pointers have on the front of their chairs. If you look at Riley Batt and Chris Bond's chair as they go over, you can see that they are built for speed. Nothing at the front. Ditto on Ivernat's chair. And then Le Guen, for example, or Vernon and McQuillan, they have a pick bar at the front to try to slow down the opposition. That was a reaching foul there by Riley Batt. He's known for those. He's committed plenty of those throughout his career, trying to reach in and steal the ball. Fires that one forward, back to Bond. You can see that both of his shoulders immensely taped up. Shoulders hanging by a thread when Australia won the World Championship in Denmark in October 2022, but he played through the pain and they won. Vernon with the inbound to Bat. Bat looks to get it over the halfway line. Some good blocking from his teammates there, and now they're all setting up in the key already. So Bat goes over. Bond tells him to stay up there. Try to slow down Yverna, and you can see Le Guen is coming over to try to get in the way of Bat, and does so just about. Now, have we had the first turnover of the match? I do believe we have. Let's watch this one again, but I think it was an over and back, so that was Yverna, whose chair was just over the line, so into the front court, and he was hit by Bond, which moved him slightly backwards. And if you're over the line and get moved backwards, or if you've completely gone over the halfway line and then come backwards, as is the case in basketball, where it's called a front court violation, here it's called an over and back. So that was a turnover, the first turnover of the match, and it went the way of Australia. Verdun halves the deficit, but Australia with their noses in front. 9-8, they lead it. Stadium announcer trying to get the French fans as excited as possible. Great blocking work from Bat. Bond weaves his way through, and it's the green and gold who are the happier of the two at the moment. Bob Van Acker, the more concerned of the two coaches. Australians setting up in the key again. Vernon trying to keep Nankin out of play. Yverna gets stuck in there, needs to get over. And Yverna manages to barge his way through. Look at the swarming defense that the French are playing. It's a full court press, if you will. But the problem is, if it's sprung, then there is an entire court for Chris Bond to roll into, and that's exactly what he's been doing. Yverna bringing the ball forward. Le Guen, the inbounder, coming with him. Up goes Le Guen now to take out his opposite number, Vernon. McQuillan doing a good job on Nankin, 0.5, and then trying to stay with Yverna. He's never going to be able to do that. 0.5 is never going to be able to live with 3 points. Yverna carrying the team on his shoulders at the moment. Everyone swarming around the key. Now the French backing off a little bit, and we've had a coach's timeout called by the French purely so that they can make some changes. So off goes Le Guen and Nankin. On comes Chalmin and Thirier. Thirier 1.5, Chalmin 0.5, so it's like for like. 0.5 and a 1.5 taken off. The Aussies sticking with the high-low lineup that they're familiar with. Bat, Bond, McQuillan, Vernon. Yverna to Verdun, the crowd like that. Back comes Vernon for the inbound. Gives it to Bond, who gets away from Yverna. Two of them for company there. Bat gets himself stopped by Verdun. And then cleverly done by Bond, who taps Yverna out of the way so that Bat can get through. It's always shepherding, it's always the blocking you have to watch. Thirier with the inbound. It's not Le Guen anymore, it's Thirier. Gives it to Yverna. Well, that was quite a reach over the top there from Chris Bond, and boos ring out. Boos, whistles. Surely a reaching foul, but it's not given. It's a turnover. So again, it's an over and back, a backcourt violation. And that's two that Bond has managed to provoke already. Two huge turnovers for Australia. They are well up for this match. They lost 58-55 to Great Britain in the opener, and they said they were quite simply outplayed. So let's go Steelers. They find themselves 2 points clear. This is when timestamps come in. And the French are holding up a board saying 1:35. So they want their team to score with 1:35 left on the clock. They haven't got time to do that now. You want to have the last possession and the last score of every quarter. So that's what France are going to be trying to do. Not just yet, it's going to be lost. It's another turnover. Australia are up and about at the moment. They really are. That was fired over the top by Verdun. And if Hivernin can't get it, then you know something's wrong with the chemistry of the French. It's a corner inbound, so it's a difficult one. Australia, they've got their assistant coach, Sam Allen, holding up a board saying 1:05. So that's when they want, that's when Australia want to score. Bond with the awkward corner inbound, but it's never awkward when you've got the trunk of Chris Bond. So Riley Batch, you're wondering why he's taking his time. Well, that's because of that time stamp that was held up. And Bat's suddenly going to pin his ears back and try to score. And he's got Verdun with him, stopping him from doing that. Everyone else is blocked. It's a one-on-one. Everyone else is being blocked. So Bat and Bond on their own. And now they're going to try to force a penalty try, which is what's happened. Australia scoring with 49.2 seconds left. Is it a penalty try, or are they going to send? It's been perfectly done. It's not a penalty try. That was wonderfully done. It's actually had Verdun sent to the bin. So that resets the shot clock. Australia with 40 seconds left on the shot clock. 4 on 3. And more importantly, 8 on 5. 3 points are out. In fact, 2 of them are out there as well. Chalmin is out, so it's 4 on 2. Brilliantly done by Australia. This is clever stuff. They are going to run the clock down. Riley's going to score one now. Back comes Mathieu Thirier. It's 3 on 4, but there's nothing they can do. That's just going to be bounced forward. There's absolutely no way, unfortunately, for Chalmin that a 0.5 pointer can pick that one up. It's still 4 on 3 for Australia. It's 8 on 5. The inbound goes all the way to the corner because the ball wasn't touched after the inbound. Australia with the inbound, and they're going to run the clock down, score the final point of the first quarter, and give themselves a 4-point advantage. Riley Bat's going to get to the key. Hivernin's trying to push him over, and Riley says nothing doing. He's going to take his time. Goes over with 1 second to go. Back on defense now. Are France going to try a Hail Mary, desperately trying to score? You'd say it's unlikely. As soon as it's touched, they're just going to stick it in their lap. An absolutely perfect first quarter by Australia, and they lead 16-12. The last minute and a half of that quarter could not have gone any better for Australia. Perfectly scripted there. They ended up getting 2 French players in the sin bin. They could have scored. That's why Bond and Bat didn't score. You look at the turnovers there, 2 against France. And the fouls ended up being what cost France as well, those defensive fouls. So you had Chalmin and Verdun in the sin bin. And that is why Chris Bond pointed himself away from the try line right at the end. And then Riley Bat managed to push Sébastien Verdun over the line. That meant that he was out and it was a foul, so he was in the sin bin, but because Chris Bond wasn't pointing himself over the line, it wasn't a guaranteed try. So it meant that it was 4-on-2, Australia could score. One of the players came back on 4-on-3, Australia could score again. So perfectly scripted there. That's all the experience of Bat and Bond. Well, it's not insurmountable for France, but 4 points at the end of the first quarter, you don't expect that. Hiverna, Verdun, and most importantly, Bob Van Acker are going to have to turn things around during this 3-minute break. The one thing the French have got, there might be 4 points adrift, but they've got the crowd on their side. You can see it, you can hear it. Jonathan Hiverna, who played down in Australia, all the way down there. He played in front of the green and gold. He played for the West Coast Enforcers in the Australian Championship that was held in Adelaide in May. That championship won by New South Wales for the 3rd year in a row. Riley Batts, Andrew Edmondson, James McQuillan playing for New South Wales. Things seemed to go a little bit awry for France when they made some changes. Off went Cédric Nankin and Corentin Le Guen. On came Mathieu Thirier. So back underway in the second quarter. France with the possession arrow. So they get the first possession and they reduce the deficit by 1. That's what they have to do. Possession alternates. The team that doesn't win the tip-off, well, that is spun out of the hands of Andrew Edmondson, who has come on. So Australia have taken off Chris Bond and they're going for a more balanced lineup now. Shea Graham with the inbound. Andrew Edmondson's on there as well, so they're the mid-pointers. Bo Vernon's still out there, as is Riley Bat. So they're going, Edmo needs to get the ball over the halfway line, gets it to Riley Bat. He does just that. So it's 3-5, 2-5, 2.5 for Australia. And with Shea Graham playing, that means they can have 8.5 points out there. For France, more balanced again. Similar to the Australians, so they've still got Hiverna out there. Rodolphe Jarlon, 2.5, Cédric Nankin, 1.5, and Jordan Ducré, 1 point. So 3, 2, 5, 1, 5, 1. Shea Graham blocking Hiverna to the best of her ability there. Nankin, well, that was a brilliant give and go that we could barely see because it happened so quickly. Inbound from Vernon to Shea Graham, handed it straight off to Riley Bat. Team Shea, they're happy with Shea Graham being out there. Fast and furious stuff. Ducré with the inbound. It's a great inbound from the 1-pointer to Hiverna. And then Ducré barging into Shea Graham to keep her out of the way. Trying to... And that's brilliant. Look at what Ducré has done on Riley Bat. A 1-pointer taking out the 3.5-pointer. Brilliant work there from the low pointer. Vernon with 10 seconds to do the inbound. Hiverna taking Bat out of the equation. So back comes Shea Graham. Is she going to have to take a timeout? She gives it to Riley Bat, and Riley says, no, I'm going to fire it forward. Where's that going to go? And it's a turnover. It's a turnover for the French. You can hear that from the crowd. That was rather desperation stuff from Riley Bat. Tried to find Andrew Edmondson and couldn't. And he's acknowledging that, but listen to the crowd. So they got the first, rolled that one forward, and it bounced a little bit fortunately off Ducré, but it was a speculative pass from Bat. That's got the crowd up and running for the French. Can Australia silence them? It's exactly what the French crowd needed. They're 3 points adrift, the French, but with ball in hand, ball in lap. Rodolphe Jalon needs to get it over the halfway line. He's got another few seconds in which to do that. Gives it to Ivernat, fires it forward to Nankin. Can Bat get there? No, he can't. Cédric Nankin, that is a popular score. Not popular with Brad Duberly. Fast and furious, Vernon to Edmondson. Riley Bat, always the outlet. Edmondson will always find Bats. They've done it for decades for New South Wales and for Australia. Interesting tactic from Brad Duberly to go high-low for the entire first quarter. And Bond absolutely played out of his skin. And Bond is ready to come on, as you can see there in the substitution box. Bond and Ben Fawcett ready to come on, so it looks like they're going to go back to high-low. So you'd expect Edmondson and Graham to come off. Substitutions can only be made when players are in the substitution box and only when the ball is dead, so not after a try. Look at the swarming defence there from the French. Bat on his own. He's going to give that to Edmondson, who should just about have the wheels. He's got the nous to outpace Jalon. Two-pointer outpacing a 2.5-pointer. But he knew exactly where to position himself there, did Edmondson. But he's kept out of play there by Jalon. Ivernat brings it forward. Gets the ball not quite over the halfway line, does so now. Bat reaching in as he likes to do. Shea Graham tries for the block. Nankin takes out Edmondson. Great work by Nankin. Bat being hemmed in. Jalon, Nankin. Got him stuck there with their pick bars. Manages to bounce it, manages to go. Look at the way he goes through with his shoulders. That was tough stuff there from Riley Bat, barging his way through. Been on the Paralympic scene for 2 decades now, has Riley Bat. Vastly experienced, started off as a teenager. He's 35 years old now. Ivernat gets over the line. He'll go to outpace Shea Graham. Fawcett and Bond still waiting to come on, unless there's a coach's timeout called, which Duberly is loath to do. Oh, great work by Vernon, blocking Ivernat, but Ivernat gets out of the pick, fires that over the top, and Edmondson's not going to be able to get there. It's a turnover. That's twice that Riley Bat has tried to find Andrew Edmondson, and the ball has been lost. A little too much for Edmo. Couldn't quite pick that one up. Apologies for those of you who can lip read. The one good thing for Australia is that it means that substitutions can be made. Fawcett and Bond come on, and they've gone high-low again. But this is France back to within 2 points, and they've halved the deficit. It was 16-12, it's now 22-20, and they're in possession. Make that 22-21. So this is what the French needed to do. French also have got Le Guen and Verdun back out there, so as soon as Australia and Brad Duberly decided to go high-low, it was exactly the same from Bob Van Acker. He decides to go high-low as well, so he's got Ivernat, Verdun, the 3-pointers, Nankin, the 1.5, and Le Guen, the 0.5-pointer. Huge hits. Ivernat gets through. Verdun was keeping Bond occupied. It's a 1-point game. Australia in possession. And they have the possession arrow, so they'll get the next contested possession, either if there's a held ball or at the start of the next quarter. But it's been a real turnaround. What was a 4-point game is now just a 2-point one. Wind in the French sails. That's why coach Brad Dubley has brought Chris Bond back on. Even out to Verdun. Sam Allen, the Aussie assistant coach, is holding up a board saying 2:40. We're at 3:08, so we're even getting timestamps now with over 3 minutes to go. That's how much the preparation works for the top teams nowadays. So 2:40 it is. That's why Bond is taking time off the clock. Of course, the most important thing is to score. Riley Batt's going to look to go over in the next 5 seconds or so. Bond tries to push Yvan Noncan out of the way. 10 seconds to go. Equipment timeout. It's Chris Bond. This is a little bit awkward for the Aussies because it won't reset the shot clock. So they're going to have a corner inbound and only 10 seconds with which to score. Imagine if Australia don't score in these 10 seconds, turnover, and then that man Yvan goes down the other end and equalizes. Bond with the inbound, they're going to wait to touch it because the clock starts now. If anyone can score, it's Riley Batt. No, it's been waved off. He's touched the cone. It is a turnover. 3 turnovers going against Australia. We're going to see it in greater detail here. He's knocked and spun round, and then it's knocked against the cone. Brilliant defense by Yvan. He's got to inbound now. He's inbounded to Verdun. He's been blocked by Vernon and Fawcett. It's a spinning foul against Verdun. That's exactly what Australia didn't need. They'd locked up Yvan with their 2 0.5 pointers, Fawcett and Vernon. And it means Riley Batt is in the bin. Bob Van Acker loves that. France are about to overcome a 4-point deficit. They're now holding up a board that says 135. So, are they going to take their time? No, they're going to score straight away. Out comes Riley Batt. And guess what? We are back level. Coach's timeout has been called, I do believe, by Brad Dubley. And why wouldn't you? He has seen a 4-point lead evaporate. 16-12 has become 24-24, and listen to the crowd here. At the Champ de Mars Arena, going absolutely wild. 12-8 it's been in favour of France in this second quarter. Australia did all the hard work and it's been all undone. Got off to a flying start, and that flying start has evaporated. Bond, has he got the wheels to defeat Yvan? He has. Gives it to Batt. They're taking their time, wanting to score at a set time. Sam Allen's going to write another time on the board. 135 is still the board that is being held up by the French coaches. Yvan gives it to Verdun. It's lost, and Riley Batt knocks the ball out of play. So it could have been a turnover here. Riley swats at it and knows he shouldn't have done that. They're looking nervous. Two people who aren't looking nervous are Ivana and Verdun. So we're into the last minute and a half. Who is going to get the final score? At the moment, you'd say it's got to be France. Australia are in possession and they can run the clock. However, they're nervous at the moment, the Aussies. Look at this swarming defence here. Three of them around bat. Jason Lees, the assistant coach, telling Chris Bond when to score. 1 minute and 4. France have said that they want to score with 52 left on the clock. Ivana comes forward. Bond comes back. Can they keep an eye? Back comes Fawcett as well. There's an equipment timeout required. Is it Chris Bond again? This is fast and furious. It is indeed. Blair Thompson comes out and changes the left wheel of Chris Bond. So, since it was the team not in possession, it resets the shot clock to 40 for the French. The French have put up a board saying prends-le, take it, which means take the timeout. So it may well be that France, Le Guen with the inbound, as Nankin tries to push Vernon out of the way. Is Ivana going to sit on this ball and run the clock down and then take a timeout when the shot clock is down to almost 0, reset it to 15, and then get the final score to make it 26 all. That's my reading of the situation. Down comes the shot clock to 7. 6. He's reset it with 15.5 seconds to go. So, 15.5 seconds on the match clock. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Needed to do it maybe half a second later, Jonathan Ivana. Timeout was the call, as that gentleman in the crowd explains to his colleague. So, France have used 2 player timeouts. Australia haven't used any of theirs yet. So that's the one advantage for Australia, but you'd say that the French have really turned things around. If they can take these 15 seconds and score. Okay, the count is on. Ivana is going to take his time. They're going to barge him over the line. And they've managed to barge him over the line. So we are dead level, but that was clever play from the Australians. So the Australians now have 10 seconds from now to try to score with the final possession. If anyone can do it, it's Bat and Bond. If anyone can stop them, it's Verdun and Ivana. 2, 1, Vernon scores. Was it allowed? Has that been given? It has been given, and Australia get the final score of the first half, and they lead 27-26. Australia did everything right in the first quarter, everything wrong, you would say, in the second. French had their pockets picked in the first, did everything right in the second quarter, and then Australia still managed to turn it around and get that final possession. France used their floor timeout, but ended up having Ivana barged over the line cleverly by Bat and Bond. Those two have done things very well in managing the clock, managing the way tries are scored or not scored. And that is the difference at the moment. It's a 1-point difference in favour of Australia. Highlights, I'm almost tempted to let you commentate these yourself, because it's been fast and furious stuff, tiring for the players. tiring in the commentary position and incredible to watch. So I certainly hope you've been enjoying it. Australia racing out into a 4-point lead. France clawing them back. 4 points in a quarter at this level is amazing. So for Australia to do it in the first and France to do it in the second is absolutely incredible. Chris Bond was off, came back on. Sébastien Verdun came back on for the French. That was brilliant from Yvernat. That was another one of the turnovers. And that was what enabled France to get possession and get level. It looked for all the world as if France were going to get the final score of the first quarter, but it ended up going the way of the Australians. 2 turnovers for the Aussies. They came in the second quarter, defensive fouls as well. But the only statistic that really matters is 27-26 to Australia as we go into the big break.
Mesdames et messieurs, s'il vous plaît, merci de faire un tonnerre d'applaudissements pour Box Kingdom. Et pendant ce temps, sur les autres sites, j'ai une bonne, même une très bonne nouvelle à vous annoncer. Ça fait non pas une, mais bien 2 médailles de plus pour l'équipe de France Paralympique. Il s'appelle Hector Deneyer, c'est une médaille d'argent aux 100 mètres bras du bruit pour Hector. Et la deuxième médaille, il a déjà remporté une médaille d'argent hier. C'est encore en natation, cette fois-ci en 100 mètres d'eau. Médaille de bronze pour Alex Portal. Supporters de l'équipe de France, supporters de Rugby fauteuil, d'où vous veuillez regarder l'écran géant, nous cherchons le fan of the day by Toyota. Qui sera le meilleur fan? C'est à vous de tout donner devant la caméra. La caméra de Toyota, on va voir la meilleure énergie possible, le meilleur sourire, la meilleure danse, et maintenant ça se passe. Qui sera le meilleur fan? Bougez, sautez, donnez tout ce que vous avez, exactement comme ça. Magnifique. Chanter, on repart dans les bons vieux classiques. On commence tout doucement, on donne un peu plus s'enflammer sur le refrain. Allez, vous avez les paroles sur l'écran géant, on a envie de vous entendre chanter.
Half-time, Australia 27, France 26. Nothing to choose between the two of them, and it ended up being an incredible piece of opportunism that gave the advantage to Australia. Nice to see a Belgian flag there, because this is actually a Belgian singer who's being played, Axel Red, Sensualité. But obviously sung in French, and the stadium announcers here at the Champ de Mars do a great job of getting the crowd behind them. So, Australia with possession to start the third quarter, and they're going high-low. That Bond, Vernon, McQuillan, 3-5-3-5, 0.5. Bit more of a balanced lineup for the French. They've got Ivernat in there, and Bat just gets over without knocking into the cone, so that makes it a 2-point game. Jordan Ducret, the one-pointer with the inbound, he gives it to Rodolphe Jarlon, 2.5-pointer. Cédric Nankin, 1.5 points, and Jonathan Ivernat, the three-pointer. That is the lineup for the French. 10-minute break we've just had, and most of the French were just keeping warm, keeping loose. Cédric Nankin was in and out of his chair and had some work done on him by the physio. The Aussies were warming up, keeping loose. Bat and Bond were on the sidelines. And Bo Vernon was also talking very animatedly to Brad Duberly. Brad Duberly, the coach, hugely experienced coach hugely experienced as a player and a coach, and Duberly was explaining a lot of things to him. It was a really animated conversation, and it's a spinning foul given against Bond. Nothing malicious about it, and he goes over and makes sure that Yves was all right with it, but Bond is going into the box, so that's 3.5 points. Is going off court. He reaches around and then accidentally clips him at the back. Nothing flagrant about it, but it does mean that, no, it's been wiped off. No, it's been put back on. Bond came out and then went back in. Ducret with the inbound, and it's 4-on-3, but it's 4.5 on against 8 is the main thing. Taking their time to score because they're trying to set a trap to make sure that Chris Bond can't get out of the penalty box. Nankin and Jaulon got in the way there. Wouldn't let Bond out, so Bond has now been let out purely because he raised his arm and said, "Please, sir, I'd like to take the inbound." A give and go with Bo Vernon, and now Bond has to get it over the halfway line before the clock gets down to 40 seconds, 12 seconds. He also has to bounce it every 10. And in the end, he just goes coast to coast. Australia restore that 2-point lead. The next contested possession, so likely the start of the next quarter, the ball will go the way of France, but Jordan Ducret there, not able to inbound within 10 seconds. Riyad Salem, the 3.5-pointer on the sidelines, not looking overly happy with that. Van Acker has a quick chat with his players. Ducret didn't think he was going to be able to get the ball safely inbounded to one of his teammates, so decided to take a floor timeout. France have only got 1 left. Australia have 4. Remember that France took a timeout to try to manage the clock at the end of the first half, and that ended up rebounding on them. So Australia with a 2-point advantage. The French with the ball, and the fact that they've been able to reset means they've reset the shot clock. Fired over the top to Jaulon. So just a 1-point game. France with the next contested possession likely at the start of the final quarter, but right, Jaulon another 10 seconds given to Vernon because Jaulon wasn't allowing Vernon to inbound. Riley Bat gets it over the halfway line. Look at the way he jinks those shoulders hanging by a thread. All taped up. All tape, but a lot of muscle and sinew as well, as the green and gold in the crowd celebrate the fact that Australia lead by 2, and they've still got 4 floor timeouts. So if they think they're going to lose possession, if they think they're running out of time on the shot clock, if they want to manage the clock, they've got 4 ways of doing it. Riley Bat gets a hand in there and forces a turnover. This match really is swinging this way and that, and it's despair on the face of Yves. Great play from Riley Bat. It's what he does best. He gives away a lot of reaching fouls, but when he picks a pocket, what's happened here? Has he drawn a reaching foul, Riley Bat? 0-5, so that's Jaulon. No, it's 10. Sorry, I thought it was a 0, then a 5, but it was a 1, then a 0. So Jordan Ducret is the one going into the sin bin. So not too bad in that it's 8-on-7 in terms of the classification, but it's still 4-on-3. And Ducret does sterling work as a blocker. But this is Australia having forced a turnover. And we really are seeing this match go this way and that. The first quarter was all Australia, they led by 4. The second quarter was all France. They reduced that deficit, they got it back level. Australia just managed to turn the tide in the final seconds of the second quarter, and they've taken that impetus into the third. Great work by McQuillan there. And it's a tour that was a great pass by Yverna. What incredible play from both teams, and it's France who end up scoring. Nervous times for Riyad Salem. Down to 2 points. It's going to come down to who can hold their nerve. Australia with Bond and Bat, even a throw like that, which would have been taxing for most other people. It's just reeled in by Riley Bat. McQuillan goes forward. There it was, Riley Bat reeling the ball in from the sideline. We're having an equipment change for Jonathan Yverna, you can see in the background. Now, the inbound's going to be Ducret. You can see that Vernon and McQuillan have absolutely tied up Jarlon, and yet Jarlon still gets the ball from the inbound, but they've still tied him up. Look at the work they're doing to the left of the screen. So that's 2 0.5s, locking up a 2.5er. And yet, when you've got Cédric Nankin, you're always going to have an outlet. Even if he's only a 1.5, he's the best 1.5 in the world. I don't think anybody would argue with that. The ability he has in his trunk and his upper limbs belie his impairment. Such a great player for so long. Yverna's going to give token chase here to Bond, but not much. "15 tries for Chris Bond. No one in the substitute boxes, as you can see on either side of the scorers table, so no substitutions coming, at least not for the moment. Australia setting up just outside the key. European defense from them. Yverna tries to barge his way through and succeeds. The crowd always like to see brute force getting through, but it's more than brute force. That hemmed in, but Bond gets free. When these two are on song, it's incredible. They weren't particularly on song in the opening match, and Australia lost to Team GB, the reigning champions. France defeated Belgium 55-53. Bat leaning in there. Great work by Ducret to slow him down. Bat was always going to get close to Jarlon, but can't quite get himself in there. Jarlon will have enjoyed that try. The crowd certainly did. The 2.5-pointer can outpace a 3.5-pointer, and probably the best that there's ever been in the game in Riley Bat. Then you feel good about yourself. Vernon with the inbound to Bat. Huge hit, Nankin on Vernon. And if anyone can reel it in, it's Chris Bond. Australia keeping that 3-point lead halfway through the third quarter. Reminder that Australia have all 4 of their floor timeouts left. Key defense, which is a clever way of doing things for Australia because it takes time. If you swarm forward, then if you get your pocket picked, then the opposition can score a try quickly. Here they are forcing France to come all the way forward, barge their way through, which they're managing to do. Yvernaz always going to be able to barge his way past Vernon. 3-pointer against a 0.5-pointer. Repairs for, well, I think it was because the 2 number 5s were locked there. As Bob Van Acker shouts the odds. There's one of the number 5s, Rodolphe Jarlon. Oh, no look pass. That told Bond where he would be, but the pick bar of James McQuillan was stuck on Rodolphe Jarlon, which is why he had a short delay. Bat to Bond, Bond to bat. That has worked for a decade and a half. Another 3 points in it. Swarming forward now. Bond will catch up with Yverna, and then the race is on to join them. Bat comes back, barged out of the way by Jarlon. Great work by Jarlon. Wonderful play by him. As I say, those of you who watch regularly and play, you know to watch the mid-pointers and the low-pointers, but if you're new to the sport or only watch episodically, great to have you here for the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games and watch the low pointers. Easy to concentrate on the high pointers, and they're taking the time now already. You can see Sam Allen has a board up there saying 2:40, so that's when Australia want Bat to score. And the crowd's getting on Riley Bat's back. I don't think Brad Dubley, Jason Lees are going to mind about that. Ducret with the inbound to Yverna. Bond is there, and then Ducret gets Bond out of the way. Jordan Ducret, take a bow. Wonderful blocking. Nervous times for the French in the crowd, though. Okay, the French are holding up a board saying vert, green. Now, what does that mean? Your guess is as good as mine. Verdun and Yverna masks in the crowd. This song, Free From Desire, was played by the French soccer team when they made it through to the final of the World Cup. And, well, how about that for a turnover from the French, just when they needed it the most? A 3-point deficit is down to 2, is down to 1. The Aussies in trouble and a timeout is called. So the Aussies have got plenty of timeouts. Might as well use them now. 10 minutes and 18 seconds to go, but all of a sudden we've had a timeout and we've had a turnover against Australia. So this match swinging this way and that all the way through. This gives Brad Dubley time to try to get his troops all back on the same page. Bob Van Acker, he can make the most of this as well. Aussies are going to stick with 3-5-3-5-5-5. Bat, Bond, McQuillan and Vernon. Australia they're now up against a slightly different lineup for the French. Adrien Chalmin is the 0.5 who's out there, and Mathieu Thirier is the 1.5 instead of Nankin. And then they've got, it's a tough corner inbound as well, and they've taken a second timeout, have Australia. Bo Vernon couldn't get the inbound there, so that's 2 timeouts used in a row by Australia. So they really need to score from this, and Chris Bond is now going to take the inbound. Riley Bat is hemmed in, though. That is the problem, and he's hemmed in. There we go. So they managed to spring the trap, pick the lock. The crowd booing Riley Bat, but he's not going to mind that. He's been told to score at 1:52 by Sam Allen. The crowd going wild. Riley Bat silences them. There we go, a number 3 on that jersey. It's a 2-point game. A reminder that France have the first possession at the start of the French to score on 1:35. That's in 10 seconds time. Whoever scores the final point of this quarter is going to have a real advantage. Yverna goes over backwards. We're within 1 point. Australia now being told to score at 1:05. It's all well and good. That was Riley Bat, hand on the ball. Moonwalking his way out is Chris Bond. 105 says the board. He's had a look around. The crowd are going to boo him. He's not going to care about that. All four of the high pointers there. Clock management of the essence. That goes over, 106. They'll take that, the Aussies. Bond goes over, rather. Who is going to score the final point of this quarter? It could be whoever scores it wins the match. I know this is the third quarter, often known as the championship quarter. That's when results are decided. Crowd going wild. No particular time stamp for the French. They just want to score. So, 47.5. It looks as if France are going to get the final possession. Vernon is going to inbound to Bond. They're holding up a board that's being hidden. It could be that Australia are going to try to run down the clock and take a timeout. Reminder, they've used 2 floor timeouts. They can't go back over the halfway line. Bat has a look at the board again. Could well be that they're being told to take a timeout. Bat's holding on to it. They're going to run down the clock like the French did at the end of the second quarter. Timeout called. The French will see that as a little bit of a win. They've used up 3 of the 4 floor timeouts that Australia had in the space of the last 3 minutes. Australia were 3 points clear. They're now only 1 point to the good. But you can see that the match clock says 14.3. As soon as this is touched by Riley Bat, then it ticks down. They have 14 seconds in which to score. Will Australia make it a 2-point game? Can the French keep it to 1? It's huge, key defense. Can Bat get around? He pops it over to Bond. That's perfect play, Bat and Bond. The Aussies in the crowd like that. 1.8 seconds from when the inbound is touched. France are just going to stick it in their lap. Well, punted forward. Great clock management by Brad Duberly, Sam Allen, Jason Lees, and the rest of the Aussie crew and the 4 out there on the court. Australia lead it 41-39 at the final break. What a match this is turning out to be. It's the equivalent of a final. And how good is it to have the world champions to the left of your screen in green and gold, taking on the host nation and 2-time European champions to the right of your screen in white and blue. And the red of the wheels, we'll call it bleu, blanc, rouge. 4 turnovers compared with 2. That's the main difference between 41 and 39. A couple of steals from the French, though, and obviously the fact that the next possession is going the way of the French. It's a 2-point game. Nobody minds that. If you are 2 points down, but you have possession, if you can score the first and the last of the quarter, then that's 2 points. Those 2 points could disappear. Jonathan Ivernat has carried this French team on his shoulders, the shoulders that he landed on there after being clipped inadvertently by Chris Bond. Captain against captain, acknowledging one another there. They've played against one another many a time, even as mentioned earlier in the Australian Championships. Be interesting to see what Brad Duberly does in terms of lineups. Obviously, it's 1 match a day at the moment. These players used to playing 2 matches a day, but 1 a day, it's still going to be taking them out of them when you're playing the top 8 teams in the world. Is Duberly going to go for the high-low? Is he going to stick with Bat Bond, Vernon McQuillan? Van Acker, what's he going to do? Is he going to bring out Sébastien Verdun as well. It looks like he is. So it is going to be, as the Mexican wave goes all around this magnificent purpose-built stadium at the Champ de Mars. It is indeed Ivernat and Verdun who are going to be out there for the French, the two three-pointers. Along with Thiriet and Chalmin. So 3-3, 1.5 and 0.5 for the French. The Aussies back in the key, 3-5, 3-5, 0.5, 0.5. 8 minutes to go. If Australia lose this, they could well be going home. If the French win this, they are odds on for a medal. It's all on the line here. Ivernat likes barging his way past Vernon, and he's done it. It's going to be nervous times for Australia. Every time they concede a try, the gap is down to 1. That's going to take his time. The clock obviously is working slightly against the French. They've got 7 minutes 25, but every second that ticks off ticks against the French. Bat and Doublé call the troops forward, swarming defence, a full-court press. Allez les Bleus, sing the crowd here at the Champ de Mars, at the foot of the Eiffel Tower. Ivernat and Bond, captain versus captain. Vernon with the block, tries to get his pick bar out there, slowing down the French. They won't mind taking their time as long as they keep scoring, and as long as Ivernat keeps barging his way past Vernon. Nankin on the sidelines, nothing he can do at the moment. It's working well at the moment. Australia managing to pick the lock, spring the trap every time. Captain versus captain. It's a 2-point game once again. Australia will be happy that 1 minute and 11 has been ticked off. Adrien Chalmin with the inbound. Chalmin plays for Montferrand in the centre of France. Made his debut 15 years ago, 38 years old. Montferrand, a big rugby union town. It's an over and back. That's the third time that there has been an over and back against the French. I think against Ivernat each time. They managed to target him when he's just on the halfway line. Bang him backwards ever so slightly. You'll see it happen here. Around comes Bat, and well, yes, he had to spin and he went slightly backwards. Van Aken not happy with the call. 5 turnovers, 3 of them have been on over and backs. Nankin has come on for the French in place of Thiriet. Corentin Le Guen on as well, so they've gone with their starting lineup. Coach's timeout has been called by Brad Doublé. So Australia 2 points clear, as they were at the start of the final quarter. However, they now have possession. They didn't have possession to begin with. They do now. Ivernat barging his way past Verdun to the delight of Nankin. That's what he's been doing all the way through. The 3.5er picking on the guy with the pick bar. But that's what you're meant to do in this sport. Bond taking his time, tries to get it to Vernon, and it's a turnover. So the advantage immediately stolen back. Bond couldn't get it to Bat. Bat was hemmed in. He tried to get it to Bo Vernon. A low pointer, he was never going to be able to pick that one up. It was a really risky play. So, not wanting to use a timeout as well. They've got 1 floor timeout left, the Australians. In fact, all of their timeouts have now gone, the Australians, in terms of the floor timeout. That's why Bond couldn't take that one. So, Australia now 2 clear. Over 6 minutes to go, though. The French won't be too worried. They've managed to get a timeout. That's not quite going to catch up with Verdun there. The crowd are going to go wild every time the French halve the deficit. Vernon has said he's going to come back to inbound. Dubley not happy with the turnover, as you wouldn't be. Vernon comes back for the inbound. Bond and Verdun. Cleverly done there, Bond. Bat manages to keep Yvernin under wraps. Bond scores, doubles the lead. You do get the impression that Australia are going to live and die by this high-low lineup with exactly 6 minutes to go. Bond on Yvernin. Nankin comes in to get him out of the way. McQuillan comes back to help out. Yvernin's past him. He's over the halfway line. He's barged through, and the crowd love every score from the French. So do the bench. Blood, sweat and tears out here. Every inbound now is going to be nervous for Australia. Coach's timeout taken by Bob Van Acker. Each coach with one timeout left. And the French with one floor timeout left. So a slight advantage for them. But main thing is Australia lead by 1 point and they have possession. Every inbound a nervous one for Vernon, but he's been doing incredibly well thus far. Gets it to Bat. Bat gets it to Bond. Yvernin was so close. Bond takes an extra few seconds off the clock. How close did Yvernin come to getting that? That's saying calm things down. Yvernin got Le Guen there helping him out. Yeoman work by Le Guen, the 0.5 pointer. That's Tristan Barfetti that we're seeing there, the number 20. Hasn't come on yet. He's had, oh, that was close there. As I say, every inbound is nervous. Bat hemmed in forwards, and there is a player down, and Bond is going to go very, very slowly over the line and egg the crowd on a little bit. Yvernin was down, but because the French were in possession and it wasn't an illegal, it wasn't a foul on Yvernin. We'll see what happens here. That goes, barges his way through, and we can't really see what happened to Yvernin. That was, don't know what happened there, unless James McQuillan managed to flick the back of him. But Australia in possession. They'd committed no foul, so they're allowed to keep going towards the try line and carry on scoring. This is going to be a quick score. Yvernin to Verdun. It's exactly what the doctor ordered for the French. It's a 1 point game once again. Australia in possession, though. The crowd clapping but holding their breath at the same time. McQuillan comes in to help out up front. Bond being pushed backwards, has to get rid of the ball and does so. Avoids the over and back. Australia still with 20 seconds. Vernon and McQuillan tying up Nankin. Brilliant work by the two low pointers there, Quill and Bow. Look at what they're doing there. One in total, taking out 1.5. That's the simple arithmetic of it. And you can see it again. You can see McQuillan picking Nankin. So it's currently 7.5 playing 6.5. Yvenin has to throw that one out to Verdun, finds him. The crowd like that bit of flair. Just before he was pushed out of play as well. The sideline counts as an extra defender. Australia, in the meantime, have inbounded. That's going to take his time. We're into the final half of this last quarter. One of the most thrilling matches that wheelchair rugby has ever seen. By any stretch of the imagination. Brad Doubley's played and coached in over 500s. He'll rarely have been as nervous as he is now. Not that he's showing any of it. Everyone hemmed in. Bat on Yvenin. Yvenin keeps incredibly calm. Crowd not keeping calm. Bond needs to get himself free for Vernon, and does. Le Guen, great work from him. The race is on. Bat's 3.5 was always going to get there just ahead of Verdun. So close, though, so close. Tight margins. No substitutes in the box. Both teams going to live and die with what they've got out there. Le Guen gives it to Yvenin. Yvenin to Verdun. Verdun to Yvenin. And he's going to race over the line. Gets the crowd, gives it an alley. Wants the crowd on his side. Thousands in here in the Champ de Mars Arena would love to turn this one around. Coach's timeout being called by Brad Doubley. I think that is mainly to give his four a breath. 60 tries for the tournament for Jonathan Yvenin. He's not had a second off court in the, well, it's 60 minutes and 47 seconds that France have played so far. Doubley telling them exactly what to do. How about that? Yvenin has 60, Bat has 60. 3 minutes, 13 seconds to go. The French have one floor timeout. Australia have none, but Australia have a 1-point advantage and they have possession. If it's level when the clock expires, we will have 2-minute overtime. Each team will then be given an extra floor timeout. Bond needs to get it over the halfway line, does so. Needs to bounce it, does so. Needs to score. 240 is on the board from Sam Allen. And he scores, well, 259. He just wants the points. Points on the board. That's the main thing at the moment. Scoreboard pressure against the French. Pressure, what pressure? Popped over the top, Verdun. Yvenin races over the line. Or maybe the 240 board is going to come up again for Australia. Lees, Allen, Doubley talking amongst themselves. A reaching foul by number 44, Quentin Le Guen. Gets in there. That's, you'd say that's no bad thing. It means it's 4-on-3, but it's still 8 on 7.5. There's not a huge difference, but still Le Guen is such a good low pointer. So Australia 4-on-3. McQuillan tying up Nankin. Nankin's now liberated himself as McQuillan comes back. Australia are going to try to run the clock down. They've got no timeouts, remember. But it's 4-on-3. They are going to try to take all 40 seconds off the clock, and that is what Riley Bad is doing. The French, well, France are down to 3 on court, but they've got the extra player in terms of the crowd there. But it's the green and gold who are happier. 2:13, they took almost 40 seconds off the clock there, Australia. Just what the doctor ordered. Le Guen out of the box, inbounds it, gives it to Yvenin. The Aussies setting up in the key, making the French take their time. Australians with long memories, not that long actually, less than 2 years ago. They were 3 points clear against Team GB at the World Cup and committed 2 turnovers in the last 3 minutes and almost lost it. Sorry, that was against Denmark. Great Britain were the ones who lost against France by committing turnovers in the last couple of minutes. Nankin's got a hand in there. The French know how to turn things around. And it's Le Guen going to the bin again. A repeat offender. A recidivist, as they say in these parts. Bond with the inbound. That needs to get himself free, and he does. And they're going to take 40 seconds. You can bet your bottom dollar or your bottom euro that that is what they are going to do. Into the last minute and 40. No need for boards here. They know exactly what to do. 4 on 3. 8 points on 7.5 points. The French booing the Aussies. The Aussies not going to mind. 2 points the difference, 85 seconds remaining. France need a quick score. Coach's timeout called by Bob Van Acker. What has the Belgian got in terms of words of wisdom for his team? It will give him the opportunity to make substitutions if he so desires. And it looks like it's going to be the 3-3, 1.5, 0.5 though of Verdun, Yvernat, Nankin and Le Guen staying out there. Allez les Bleus, shout the crowd during this 1 minute timeout. Their teams 2 points adrift. Fans of all colours, the red, white and blue of the French, the green and gold of the Aussies. Look at that in the crowd, plenty of green and gold, but lots and lots of red, white and blue. Now they're going to wait for the inbound and then pick it up, Yvernat, because every second counts at the moment. The Aussies back in the key European defence. Aux armes citoyens is the music from the French national anthem. That was the trumpet call there. Vernon's going to be nervous on every inbound, but he is showing no nerves whatsoever, the youngster. A recent recruit, and he is doing so well as a low pointer, as is James McQuillan. And Riley Batt, oh, not quite made it a 2-point game yet. The French are now back in the key. Can they force a turnover? Imagine a turnover here. If Australia score this, you'd say that the match is theirs. If they fail to score, then, well, they didn't fail to score. This man does not fail. That man does not fail. It's a 2-point game. France need to score, and they need to score quickly. The clock ticking down. Are they going to try to use their final floor timeout? They're going to use their final floor timeout. 15 seconds to go. What they need to do, the French, is score and get an immediate turnover. So that's what they want to do. It's a little more awkward for them because they've got a corner inbound. But if they can score quickly and then absolutely swarm and get an immediate turnover, then they can level the match. 15 seconds to go, but they need to score immediately. They've made some changes. On comes Ducret. They need to score. They can't get out. Yvernat's boxed in. It's popped over the top. Bat's going to get in. They are going to score. Over the line goes Jarlon. There are 5 seconds left. 5 seconds to cause a turnover. They haven't managed to do it. Chris Bond is going to go over the line, get the final score, and Australia win an absolute thriller, 55-53. Delight for the green and gold, despair for the red, white and blue, but what a match that was, what a finale. Relief more than anything for the Australians in the crowd. Delight for Chris Bond, Riley Batt, on comes Jake Howe. Australia 55, France 53. Australia stay alive in the tournament. The Aussies got the job done. James McQuillan, number 5, played so much of that, the low pointer, as did Bo Vernon. People will look at Riley Batt and Chris Bond, but what about James McQuillan, Bo Vernon, Shea Graham, Andrew Edmondson on there as well. Chris Bond, the captain's knock from him. Cedric Nankin, he'll live to fight another day. Aussies getting into the huddle, as they always do after every match, win-lose. I was going to say win, lose or draw. You can't have a draw, but win or lose. Lap of honour for the French as well, and the crowd, I think the crowd realise that they've just seen an absolutely amazing match. It's an amazing sport. A lot of them here at the Champ de Mars will not have seen this sport before, but anyone who got tickets today to see this, they will have been absolutely thrilled. French fans and the Aussies in there, and the neutrals giving it back to the players, all 24 of them, and all the support staffs who are out there. What a match this was. High fives all round. Riyad Salem in the background, well into his 50s, at his final Paralympics on home soil. He's a Parisian, but it's the Aussies. Andrew Edmondson giving James McQuillan a hug. Edmondson, who's only on for a minute or two. James McQuillan, what a performance by him. French crowd bouncing up and down. Look at them enjoying it. Shea Graham, she got a fair few minutes, enabled the Aussies to play 8.5 rather than 8, and she's got her own fan club in the crowd. Well, the French fans, they don't even look that disappointed. I think they know that they can still qualify for the semi-finals. Well, highlights, we could show all 32 minutes again. Incredible highlight reel. The entire match was a highlight reel. The entire fourth quarter was a highlight reel. Nerves all the way through. Bo Vernon, all the inbounds he had to take, never blinked once. Chris Bond, one turnover against him, put it behind him. Jonathan Hivernat never gave up, never backed down. Over 60 tries in 2 matches for him in this tournament. Chris Bond over the line with a second to go, sealing the deal for Australia. Under the Southern Cross they stand. .55-53 is the only one you really need to look at. There were 5 turnovers against France, but they got 3 steals. Australia 2 turnovers, no steals, so they cancelled themselves out. 5 penalties, exactly the same as well. The only difference was when you score. If you can score at the end, you're the one who is going to win. So Australia still behind France on points difference. They have to play Denmark, though. France, GB. Imagine if France beat Team GB, Australia beat Denmark. We're onto a points count back. That is how tight it is in wheelchair rugby at the Paris 2024 Paralympics. How wonderful it is. The standard could not be higher. The fans still enjoying themselves. Both sets of players still out there trying to catch their breath. What an absolutely amazing match that was. Australia winning it 55-53.
Tomorrow for these teams, Australia back in action at 1:30. They take on Denmark. And tomorrow night at 7:30, it's
What a match on the Champ de Mars, the Field of Mars, a field of battle, and what a battle it was. A battle royal between the world champions Australia and the two-time European champions and host nation France. Somehow Australia managed to squeeze home by the narrowest of margins. They stay alive, so do the French, but it was an absolutely wonderful spectacle that the fans here will have enjoyed, and we certainly hope that you did at home as well.